AI is going to take your writing job. It may not happen right away, but you can be sure that AI is cheaper, faster, and altogether a more knowledgeable person than you'll ever be. But what it isn't is creative. It doesn't have style. It doesn't have flair. If you learn the skills you need to write well and to be interesting and tell a good story and to do so with style, then you'll have a job well past the AI revolution. But the problem is that most writers don't have their own style. I've been sharing a lot with you throughout this course of the greats. We're copying Dan Kennedy and Gary Halpert. We're going after Claude Hopkins. And all those people have enormous swipe files that you can go look up, copy, and try and hammer in to your campaign. And people have been, well before AI, people have been trying to beg, borrow, and steal their way to success. And you're better than that. You've been doing this for a couple of weeks, couple of days, depending on how fast you've been doing it. Hopefully you're actually doing the practice. You have what it takes to write with style on your own. But how do you figure that out? You know, we've just been copying and writing something interesting before. How do we actually discover our style and make something interesting? I want to introduce you to Bob Dylan, not my personal favorite artist, but he's an excellent storyteller, right? And like a couple other artists in this era, was doing something unique for the first time ever in music. And we can't say that very often. In the modern day, maybe you get like a Skrillex or something that you're like, what in the world is that guy doing? That's different. But for the most part, we're kind of doing the same thing. We're stuck in a rut, but not Bob Dylan. And that's why we make movies about people like him. He wasn't the best singer. He wasn't the best guitar player. He wasn't even the best musician. He was a great storyteller. And his style was super unique. It wasn't about being a good singer. So here's some lines from one of his songs. Don't think twice, it's all right. It ain't no use calling out my name, gal, like you never did before. It ain't no use in calling out my name, gal. I can't hear you anymore. I'm a thinking and a wondering all the way down the road. I once loved a woman, a child, I'm told. I gave her my heart, but she wanted my soul. But don't think twice, it's all right. That line, I gave her my heart, but she wanted my soul. That's what we were talking about yesterday. We're talking about the things that you could learn from your high school English class that could make you a really interesting writer. And you can tell in those lines that parallelism, the antithesis between I gave her my heart, but she wanted my soul. So we're comparing those two things. That's the most powerful part of the line. So you have to be able to master that. You have to be able to share things like that. So how's Bob doing that? He's not singing particularly well. He's not playing particularly well. He plays pretty well. How is he writing using tricks from his English class and being incredibly, incredibly interesting? Well, what he's managed to do is create a unique style. And what you can do when you're looking for your own unique style is to kind of fall into one of 6 categories. So we're going to talk about the 6 copywriting characters that convert and which one you should fall into, the elements of style everyone needs regardless of their personal writing style, and how to write better than ChatGPT, the secret to improving as a writer, but also in a way that comes naturally to you. And that's the key part. And by the end of this, you're going to learn the 6 copywriting characters. You're going to learn how to play into it, but also to distance yourself from it, from like kind of pick and choose from each one of the characters, because that's the secret. You're not going to be something 100% different than what everyone else was, right? Bob Dylan's a singer-songwriter. He's playing a guitar and he's singing. That's not that different, but the way he plays it, different. The way that a mariachi band plays the trumpet, different. We're using the same instruments in a way that is similar to what other people have done before, but it's different enough that gets us attention, specifically if it's in a new industry or niche. All right, let's go. Let's learn the 6 copywriting characters from Socratic scribbling. So this is from Malachi Walsh. If you've been keeping up with the course, you've heard his name several times. Malachi Walsh is a hotshot from the advertising industry back in the Mad Men era. He happens to be a member of my book group, and I like working with Malachi. He's a really interesting guy. He has a book called Socratic Scribbling. His unique background is being a student of Shakespeare. And then basically like, what do I do with this writing degree? Let me go be a copywriter. And so he writes this whole book kind of going through like, what do the classics have to teach us about rhetoric and communication and persuasion and everything. The book can be a little academic at times. I have different tiers of books I'm recommending in this series. You have ones that are like, you absolutely must get it, and then you get some that are like, these are optional, but if you're taking this seriously, I highly recommend that. That's the category that Socratic scribbling falls into. The information is fantastic, but it's you can have to wade through it a little bit. So anyways, with that being said, I'm pulling out the highlights and super powerful parts that it's like academic, analyzing Shakespeare and Aristotle aside, here's some of the best things from the book. All right, so that's what the 6 copywriting characters are. Oh, hey, oops, didn't know that was coming. Hey, this is How to Write Beautifully by Malachi Walsh. And again, when it comes to, I didn't say this before, but when it comes to things like learning how to use those tactics we talked about from the high school English class and learning how to write with style, I do not see other copywriters ever talk about this. They talk about how to beg, borrow, and steal. They talk about how to use formulas. That puts you in danger. If you're following anyone else out there, you're going to learn how to write pretty well and lose to ChatGPT every time. You're going to learn to write pretty well by copying other people who actually knew how to do this properly. And you don't want to do that. Your job will be in danger. So buy the book if you're interested. So here are the 6 copywriting characters, and you may fall neatly into one of them. You might notice that you play 2 or 3 different characters at different times for different companies, and you may find that you are mostly a comedian, but pick a little bit of seasoning from the ad man or the chef. Seasoning and chef would have been a better metaphor there, but the unique balance is up to you. You're going to figure out what works best for you. What works best for the industry or brand you're working with. But you have to kind of pick one to start with so that you have a good launching point. So let's talk about the first 6 and see where you fall in, all right? All right, so the comedian. The comedian uses humor to catch attention, often leveraging an unexpected surprise to the audience. By applying tactics like incongruity, relief, and superiority, they make consumers feel positively about their brand and their product or service. The copy tends to be witty, playful, and occasionally absurd, turning even the most mundane products into something memorable. Whether through clever punchlines or exaggerated scenarios, their goal is to keep you entertained and leave you with a smile and a purchase in hand. So a great example of this that I'm not going to show is from Bo Burnham's which you can find on YouTube. It's one of his free YouTube comedy shows. And minute 0 through 7 minutes, 7.5 minutes, is just him being confusing and catching you off guard like that like congruity and relief that happens in spades over and over. It's him pretending to walk on stage and you think he's dancing, and then he fake drinks a glass of water and then he spits it out because he's been holding water in his mouth for the last 2 minutes while he's dancing on stage, right? It's just little things like that he does. Oh man, I can't, it caught me off guard. I didn't expect it. And being able to leverage that sort of thing in your marketing is huge, and people like you and the brand because of it. All right, the ad man. The ad man is all about results. If you've been going through like the Dan Kennedys, you've been going through the Billy Mays here, like these guys are ad guys, right? They're just going to use direct response sales tactics to create urgency and demonstrate product value. Look at this, but that's not more. Look, this tape can hold up 45-pound, dumbbell plates or barbell plates, and it's just, that's it. There's tried and true tactics they're going to put in certain orders that clearly just show you need this now. It's a really awesome product. It cannot be denied. You should buy now. With techniques like showing before and afters, building value, or but wait, there's more, and performing torture tests on their products by running it over with cars or whatever, they position the product as a life-changing solution, which is huge. It emotionally resonates with us. And they're experts in hyping up benefits with phrases like time-tested and showing the prospect how much happier their life would be with that product. And it leaves no room for doubt that their product is the key to living a better life. For them, it's all about turning curiosity into action and driving conversions with persuasive, high-energy copy. And we talk a lot about that here. And this is the core of direct response. Most people should be writing some version of direct response copy. Almost all of you will have some sprinkle of the ad man in your style, not because it's your style, but because it's what works. But That's the sprinkling some of that flavor in elsewhere. All right, so what is the journalist? The journalist is kind of more in the brand marketing category, and there's a place for that, right? The journalist is talking about news or how-tos. It's very informational. It's discovery. So the journalist tackles copywriting like a seasoned reporter, digging up deep facts, presenting them with objectivity and clarity. So they say, for example, I tried this diet. Here's what happened. That's a great start to a YouTube video. It's just, is this diet hyped up? Is the carnivore diet all it's hyped up to be, right? That's the sort of a strong journalistic hook where unless there's a pitch at the end or something like that, what you're doing is you're going through and you're finding information and sharing it with the audience, right? They use techniques like finding gossip, breaking news, showing social proof, and answering consumer questions with verifiable information and compelling evidence. We haven't shown it yet, but Dr. Squatch did a little bit of this with like man on the street style interviews. That's a very journalistic thing, right? They're half journalist, half comedian. They're gonna say, hey, what would you do if your guy smelled like this, right? And you're interviewing a bunch of women. Guys are like, I want to smell like that for my woman. And then they go into the funny part of the ad, right? So you say, I want this. And then you say, I'm likable like me. So it's a good example of how you meld these two together. But the journalist is finding that information and presenting it in an interesting and compelling way. Their writing style is grounded in the tripod method, which is posing a question, offering a solution, and backing up with credible sources. And I'll remind you that tripod method fits very nicely into the 3-act sequence, right? We have posing a question. That's our beginning. We started off with this question. We have no answers. The bulk of our story puts us in trying to figure out what the solution is and offering it. We don't know the answer to the question, so we're on a mission to find it. And then once we find it, we have to confirm, it seems too good to be true. So we're going to go figure that out. We put it through rigor. This is kind of the climax of a story, and it really works. Hey, look, there's a call to action right there if you choose to use it. If you're going to sprinkle in the ad man and put a call to action there, right? So that's how all these things are going to kind of mix and match and be pieced together how you need them to for your personal style and your product. So they've got that tripod method, posing a question, offering a solution, backing it up with credible sources, and they turn the promotional into the informative, right? They're just saying, you're learning about my product. Secretly, that information is super compelling to you and I hope you buy, but it feels like I'm just telling you about it. I'm positioning my products and services as trustworthy and as essential through factual storytelling that resonates with the audience. Billy Mays here. My boat didn't work, and now I put Flex Seal on it, and suddenly I'm flying across the water. It's a little journalistic. Can we fix this? That's very journalistic, right? All right, moving forward. The chef. So the chef is, I think, sort of like the cousin of the journalist, right? The journalist is looking for answers. The chef is showing you the answers step by step. It's both, but both are very informational, right? The chef is 5 ways to make money online. The chef is 6 ways to get rock hard abs this summer, right? It still feels like you're not getting a pitch, you're getting information, but you're demonstrating your authority, your knowledge, your skill, your care for the audience, and probably talking about, from a lightly journalistic perspective, why this step? Why step 2 for abs instead of the 8 through 12 things that you left off the list, right? Why, what data did you find? What personal experience did you have that made you pick that exercise instead of another one, right? So the chef is the ultimate guide for achieving a clear goal with no confusion. Like a skilled culinary instructor, they break down complex tasks into easy to follow step-by-step instructions. They're all about process, taking you from point A to point B with precision and care. And the copy is focused on guidance, structure, and clarity, ensuring you know exactly how to achieve success with the product or service that they're promoting. And the tour guide. The tour guide is used less often, but this is sort of like, imagine the insider who tells you, a day in a life at Google. That's a tour guide of a Google employee, right? That was really popular in TikTok for a little bit. That's a tour guide. They're letting you in a behind the scenes world, right? And the behind the scenes world is something that typically does really well on TV and social media. Does it work in copywriting? Yeah, of course it can. People want to know, but you have to figure out, like, what is your 3-act story? How are you actually moving them towards a destination? So the tour guide excels at telling stories that bring products and services to life through the lens of everyday experiences. So this is storytelling on steroids, right? This isn't just, oh, look at that building over there on the corner. That's where I live. That's Google. Have a nice day. It's, growing up, I, hadn't even touched a computer until I was 14. I wasn't accepted into college. I learned to code. I built a few websites, caught the attention of the right people, and suddenly I'm not struggling anymore. I've always felt like an outsider at Google, but I've moved up. Clearly they see value in me, right? We're telling a story throughout the process. So they have the intimate knowledge of their surroundings, and they highlight small, meaningful details that make all the difference, right? They're going through and saying, actually, that coffee pot is my favorite thing in here. It's not the most expensive. It's not the most interesting. It's not anything special for that reason, but it's where I would go every day before my interviews, right? And I've had 7 promotions while I was here. That's sort of like my good luck charm here, right? And it reminds me how important it is to have iconography in your life, things that encourage you and inspire you to do better, to take things seriously. So that's why I'm recommending, this coin that you keep on your desk. I don't know if I have it in front of me. I have a coin. You can't buy it. One sec. So you can't buy this coin. It's just an example, but this is a coin I got from the Strenuous Life. The Strenuous Life is owned by McKay, who does The Art of Manliness. And basically this was like a 12-week program where every week you had to do 1 hour of strenuous physical activity every day. You had to do one good deed for the people around you. And you had to undertake one kind of big physical challenge at the end of the week. And over the 12 weeks, you had to earn some sort of a badge, like a knot tying badge or something like that. It's kind of adult Boy Scouts. All right, so what do? The back of this says, acta non verba. That's deeds, not words in Latin. So I keep this on my desk to remind myself that I can do hard things. In fact, at the end of this, I walked 50 miles in a single day. I did it in about 17 hours, maybe. So I keep that there to remind myself of that. That's a great pitch. So if I were promoting this, you can't buy this again. This is only by earning it. But if I were trying to promote something like this, I could use the tour guide story to do that, right? I could say, I struggled. I never really believed in myself. I've worked at Google all this time. I had the coffee pot. You need a talisman like that. And when I'm at my home office, this is the thing I look at that gives me courage and excitement to get out there and keep grinding, right? Pick one up today. That's how you use the tour guide storytelling to actually promote a product or service. And the tour guide's approach creates a sense of discovery and personal connection, weaving lessons or calls to action into each story. So those are there, right? I found a way to say, this Google employee, I'm not a Google employee. I'm mixing fake people and real stories together, right? So if that's your personal story, your story of sacrifice, again, you kind of have to build a bridge. What are you promoting? What story do you want to tell? And how do you connect those things? But the tour guide can be a very powerful strategy. And there's no reason why you hold to any one of these separately. Finally, the pastor. Now, the pastor is a lot like the tour guide. They're kind of storytelling. They're kind of like the ad man, and that they're going to go after these strong emotions. But the pastor revs you up in a way that the other two don't, right? The pastor uses their deep emotional appeal to connect with their audience at their core. The copy is less about facts and way more about feeling. It invokes themes of higher order things, right? Redemption, overcoming great obstacles, cautionary tales, miracles. Those are much bigger than the mundane stories of the tour guide. They're much bigger than the call to action, let me torture test this device that you get from the ad man. No, this person uses emotion. They use pathos. They tell stories that stir the heart, inspire reflection, or encourage action based on powerful emotional triggers. They guide their readers through personal struggles or moral dilemmas, right? You could be talking about a fitness program and say, this is you don't have any, you say you don't have any discipline, right? You're not feeling motivated. That's it, right? You're not feeling motivated. You don't want to get out of bed today. You don't want to say no to the bag of potato chips, right? But that's because you have no determination. You don't have a reason why you're doing any of these things. And you're going to continue to fail. You're going to continue to become a worse and worse version of yourself because you have no driving force. You need a driving force. Every man needs a reason to get out of bed in the morning. Every man needs a reason to go out into the wilderness and struggle. And every man needs a reason to go out and hunt down the monster and kill it. Whatever your monster is, you need a reason to go outside, hunt it down, and defeat it. That's a totally different thing than the ad man or the tour guide, right? You might have a little flavoring of each. Oh, one time I was doing this. All right, so that's the tour guide. The pastor, though, is using these big moral, story-based things that are more like, tale as old as time, good versus evil sort of tales, right? And for the pastor, selling isn't just about the product, it's about transformation and connection at a human level, right? I didn't even have a pitch at the end of that. I could tie many things into, you need to be more determined and have a reason to go out there. Maybe I'm like a personal coach or a lifestyle coach or what is that called? Like a life coach. Maybe I'm a life coach. I'm like, you got to figure it out and I can help you do that, right? That's a good way you could do that. Or you could say, buy my program, my 12-week transformation program. And the very first thing we do is I'm going to have you write down why you're getting fit, right? That's a good way to move into that. But the main thing that they're good at doing is stirring you to powerful emotions and to action. And people who are in the pastor category who aren't actually pastors, football coaches, man, you got to go out there, you got to slay the dragon, man, you got to fight the other team, you got to win. This is the halftime talk, baby. Your team's down by 14. What's been happening, right? That's the football coach. Psychologists can do this from time to time, right? You have to get out there. How do you feel? There's that aspect of it. But of course, people need to be inspired. They need to overcome their challenges, and that will require some rhetorical flourish from psychologists. Diet advisors and good bartenders also are going to persuade you to go live your life differently and to take the steps you need to succeed, right? So those are our 6 copywriting characters. But outside of that, we're talking about the personal rules of writing there. You're going to fall into one of those 6, probably some combination of those. And we're going to talk about how to pick one and kind of work with it. But those are the personal style skills, right? There are also universal skills of writing with style that you can learn in this book here, right? So think about like personal style from a dressing perspective. If you're that sort of person, you have different colors you like. You have different patterns or different materials that you like. You might like something from this decade or this decade. You might like shoulder pads or not shoulder pads. That might even change with the time. But there's never really been a time where you should mix metals, where you should have a brown belt and black shoes, or sorry, that's leather. You never really want to mix your leathers. You never want to have brown belts and black shoes. You never want to mix your metals. You never want to have like a gold watch and a silver chain, right? You want to have gold and gold. You want to have brown and brown. So that's just the basic rules of how, even within style, there's just some things that you kind of have to get right. But when you nail these universal rules of styles, you still have a lot of wiggle room to do something totally unique and perfectly you. Like, do you want a modern groove belt, for example, that is kind of seamless and you don't have to run the belt through the buckle? Do you want a rustic Texas big belt buckle? Do you want a Ranger belt that's, for holding up your Colt 45? Do you want a casual woven belt for your day at sea and your boat shoes and sipping fruity martinis on a boat? I don't know, right? Do whatever you want, but there are some universal rules of style that you have to follow as well. And the same goes for your writing. All of it's outlined in this book, The Elements of Style. This is sort of like the book that has been recommended for decades on how to write with style. So if you're buying all the books in the course, definitely buy this one. This, similar to Malachi's book, falls in that, all right, you should probably buy, if you're buying like 3 to 5 books from this course, you should probably buy this one. But if you're not, if you're only buying 1 or 2, there's a couple other ones, specifically The Ultimate Sales Letter by Dan Kennedy, that I highly, highly recommend. All right, so here are the 12 elements of style from elements of style. So that's what I'm saying. The best I can do is kind of put that all in one place for you. All right, here we go. Here are the rules. Place yourself in back, put the object first. Don't talk about yourself so much. It's why I was saying the other day, when you're using those personal references, you should say you as much as possible. And when you're telling a story about yourself, it's about you discovering, we're talking about the journalist now, you're discovering the answer to the problem. You're not telling a story about yourself and why you like one version of ice cream over another, right? You're discovering an answer that is interesting to the reader. So you are at the background of those sorts of stories. So you should write in a way that comes naturally. We're going to talk about how to do that in just a minute. You're going to work from a suitable design, which is a little confusing. So I put in parentheses, know your medium, I had that list of the 10 or 12 different places where copywriting can be used. Are you doing direct mail? Are you doing direct mail? Are you doing email? Are you doing a landing page? Are you doing a video? Are you doing social media posts? That all matters for what sort of style is expected of you and how what you're doing kind of hammers into it, right? Who are you writing for and where is it going is very important to keep in mind. Use nouns and verbs. We talk about that a lot. Use lots of verbs. Use personal references, particularly when you're using nouns. Don't use a lot of pronouns. Don't do the its, ands, theys, we's. Use names. Make it clear so that we don't lose. Wait, which he is he talking about? Don't do all that. Just refer to them specifically as much as you can. The ball, John. Do those things. All right, revise and rewrite. It's important, right? I've shown you several times where I've written something and I'm like, ideally I would come back another day later. And I did that a couple days later. I was like, oh, actually that part wasn't that good. It's important to revise and rewrite, have someone else check your work. Don't overwrite, don't overstate. You gotta be comfortable. You gotta talk like you're talking to everyone else, and not lie, not make promises you can't back up. Avoid qualifiers. This one's like a deadly sin, right? Which is saying like very. It's pretty gross. Things should be more powerful than that when you're writing. So if you say, it was a very big deal to me, why not just say, it was a huge deal, period. It was life-changing, period. That's the way you need to be communicating as a good presenter. Those qualifiers say, I was a little tired. I was very tired. Now, you can break that rule, and when you're breaking that rule is when you're making something out to be a little bit less than it actually is. When you're underselling something. So let's say it's obvious at the end of a marathon that you were exhausted, right? I used to be 500 pounds. In a year, I lost 200 pounds and then I went to run my marathon. And yeah, I was a little tired afterwards. That's appropriate, right? You're kind of using those qualifiers to actually make it smaller, and that is your goal. Most of the time, that's not what's happening. You want to make things a really big deal. I was exhausted, right? I was terrified. It was a huge deal. It was life-changing. Those are the kinds of things you should be saying instead of using those qualifiers. So you should have something to say and stay organized. That's very important. That's why we have all of these different formulas. It's not as much to like break writer's block, which it can be, but it's more like, hey, let's not involve a bunch of unnecessary details. Let's not go on random tangents and hope that it sells. It's like, all right, focus on one thing, and you're gonna have 3 parts of your message. Stick to it. Don't get lost and sell the dang thing, right? So again, stay organized. Don't explain too much. Those things kind of go together. You should be clear and use figures of speech sparingly. Does not mean you should not use some of those rhetorical devices. It just means use them sparingly, use them where they hit the hardest, right? Next slide. So the hardest part. How do you write in a way that comes naturally? That's what we just talked about the 6 copywriting characters. We're talking about the universal rules of writing with style. How do you find your style? How do you find what comes naturally to you? So the first thing that you're going to want to do, of course, is to showcase your personality or your brand's personality. You have to figure out which one comes first, right? If you're hired to ghostwrite for Yeti is the first thing that came to mind. You're ghostwriting for Yeti. I don't know if Yeti has ghostwriters, but probably they have copywriters and they're writing for Yeti. So you're supposed to be in the background, being quiet, right? Whatever Yeti's style is, that's the style. That's hard. You're gonna have to learn how to write first. Like when we're practicing today, you're gonna have to learn what your style is first. But someday you're gonna have to be able to turn any of these on when you're working for other people. So figure out what you're trying to show off. Who are you? Like, are you playful? Are you serious? Keep that in mind. And pick one of the 6 characters that best aligns with that. You might pick a little bit from each one. You know, you may say you're an ad man, but you know what? I like that hook that was a little bit journalisty. So this time I'm going to play with a unique combination of that. So that's what we're saying. Find a way to be unique. Consider the synthesis between those two different things. And you're not going to discover it by watching me here talking and thinking about it. You're going to have to actually write this down. Who am I? I'm going to write down 10 things about myself. How would people describe me? How would I describe me? How does that align with one of the 6 characters? Okay, that's going to be my, what is it in Smash? That's my main, right? That's one of those 6 characters is my main. Doesn't mean I can't play the other ones, but that one's my main. And you have to figure out a way to play your main differently than other people, right? You have to say, you know, I'm the only one in my industry who does it this way, you know? I'm the only one in the personal chef industry who likes the pastor motif. But, you know, I've got a really loyal audience that really digs it, right? So that's finding something unique in your industry. You can do synthesis. So I'm the pastor, but I do a little bit of this other thing. That's number 3. Finally, number 4, if you're just having a hard time getting out of it all the time, there's this technique. I forget who wrote the alter ego effect. All right, so Todd Herman wrote a book called The Alter Ego Effect. And the alter ego effect basically analyzes all these top performers in the world, like Kobe Bryant, for example, that create alter egos. So Kobe Bryant, when he's at home with his family, he's Kobe, right? But when he's on the court, he's the Black Mamba. That could be necessary for you. You know, you might have to find someone that you really admire and tweak a couple things, create like a superhero identity. You know, right now I'm not Peter Parker, I'm Spider-Man. And Spider-Man behaves differently than Peter Parker, right? Spider-Man is confident with girls, Peter Parker isn't, right? That's an example of what alter ego does. So when you put on your metaphorical suit, you know, here we go. Hold up. There we go. Boom. These are extremely dirty. So right now I am a good journalist. There we go. No, that's my Superman thing. All right. Right now I'm a good journalist. You know, I'm not that confident. I'm not that outgoing of a character, but now take off the glasses and I get my little hair twirl there. I'm Superman. I behave differently. I act confidently. I speak confidently. You will leave New York alone. That's the power of an alter ego. You may need to do that. You may need to become a different person mentally. Probably not like a different person, but like the ideal version of yourself, and put that hat on while you're writing, if that's what it takes. And that might even mean, this is Todd Herman stuff in the alter ego effect, that might even mean that you do something differently. I'm going to wear something different. I'm going to do a different ritual right beforehand because it helps me think of myself differently. I'm not David right now. I'm Professor Franklin, right? That's a good way to actually go into this and think of yourself differently. But not what I'm doing right now. But you know what? I do wear this yellow shirt every single time. I do come in front of this background every single time. You know, I'm doing things to get myself in the right headspace. So, and I already said, don't adopt your alter ego. Contrary to your nature, it should be your idealized version of yourself. All right, but before you write, keep in mind, we're gonna go practice today. Keep in mind the elements of persuasion, right? Ethos, pathos, logos. You want all 3 in all of your writing, right? Ethos is appealing to your likability. Pathos is exciting and removing prejudice. It's making people feel emotionally about a thing. And logos is logical persuasion. Keep that in mind because, especially if you're maybe getting into the ad man thing, maybe you're getting into the pastor thing, maybe you're kind of like really hitting the emotional part hard, you got to make sure you back up on the goods. There's got to be a little bit of logic in there. There's got to be you paying attention to being a likable person and not burning a bridge. This may not be your only interaction with people, so you have to make sure that you're holding your name up out of the dirt, right? You got to make sure that you're likable, that you're perceived as ethical, but that you're also being ethical. All right. There we go. That's the elements of persuasion. Keep in mind the schemes and tropes from the other day. We've got exaggeration and downplaying tools. We've got different tools to emphasize things. I have in the link below all of these sort of like printouts that you can keep right next to you. So all of these plus examples are available on a single sheet that you can print out and keep on your desk next to you while you're working. I just like to go over this so it's top of mind. You know, right now you're thinking about characters and stuff. You know, what is your, if you're making an alter ego, why would they use these things? Who are they? You know, I want you to keep all this in mind, and it's going to become harder and harder as we go through to juggle all the things we're talking about. But that's critical to becoming a good writer. You have to be able to think about all these things, even if you have a cheat sheet on the side that's a little reminder. All right, so keep these in mind. Maybe print something out as we're writing today. And here we go. I've got some examples of different copywriting characters in my Notion, and we're going to go through and see how those different pieces feel different, right? All right, here you go, everybody. This is what the course looked like before it was in PowerPoint mode. All right, this is my Notion. This is where I got everything put together. All right, we're going to go into Write with Style, right? So we have all of our examples. So this is Joanna Weibe from Copy Hackers. And Joanna is a copywriting coach, but she's kind of chefy, right? She likes to be the nice person who gives a lot of information, right? You feel like she's helping you and you're discovering the information. Reject them. All right, here we go. Every copywriting formula ever, or the ultimate guide to no-pain copywriting. Joanna Weibe, because only rookies write from scratch. We've pulled together every single copywriting formula we've ever seen to create the ultimate guide, the most complete handbook to copywriting formulas. This one post will help you write all your copy faster and with greater likelihood of success. Okay, now we're kind of getting into ad man pretty early in this informational article, but right, it's going to solve all your problems, right? You're going to have a greater likelihood of success. You should be using copywriting formulas whenever you write anything. They eliminate the guesswork that makes a lot of bad copy. They will help you face the blank white page without cowering. They'll help you generate A/B test ideas faster. They'll help you pinpoint what's wrong in a button, in a headline, or even a video script. Notice we've got 1, 2, 3. So they'll help you face the blank page. They'll help you generate A/B test faster. They'll help you pinpoint. All right, that's 3, and we have a nested 3. So on this third one, we're going to pinpoint what's going wrong in a button, in a headline, or even in a video script. All right, so that's, she leveraged something a little ad man-y, and now we're going into the chef portion. How do we do it? I have a lot of long form writing today, so I'm not going to dive too deep into it, but all right, here we go. So we've got a listicle, right? Here are the things. We've got the copywriting formulas for general websites. We've got ADA, which we've talked about. So where's the D? How's it happening on this? So we're kind of breaking it down how it's happening. There's ADCA, conviction. You really need to do this. So we have slight variations on the ADA. Again, my personal philosophy on this, you can learn every slight tweak to it, but once you kind of figure out that everything's the 3-act structure with a couple of tweaks, maybe you add a little bit more or use, you push a little bit harder or add a little bit more intrigue and you slightly modify them. There's probably going to be like 30 of them in here. I guess 20. I think she said that, right? She say that? She didn't say a number. Anyways, all that being said, there's slight variations. They're helpful. There are a million different variations you can make at the end of the day. All right, so we've got the 4 Ps. That's the picture, promise, prove, push. We've talked about that before. We've got ACA, awareness, comprehension, conviction, and action. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. We've got the APA, or the PAPA, the PAPA, attention, advantage, prove, persuade, action. All right, so you can see that we started out with that really heavy push, and now we're getting into just more, here's how it goes. The quest for the prospect, that's an interesting one. So we have the quest for the prospect, understand where they're at, educate them on a better way, stimulate them so that they want the better way, and transition them. That's probably the desire one. In fact, I'm sure she has the desire one on here. Hey, Command F, desire. Okay, so I think you can see that this listicle format, as we're reading through her stuff, other than that intro paragraph, that this has been a lot more of just like, here's how to do it, here's examples, which is very chefy. Here's exactly how you can do it. All right, next up, we've got Dan Kennedy, the admin. We're going back to magnetic marketing from the other day. Oh man, this was pushing really hard, right? Where we're talking about using these sort of specific techniques in a certain order, where we're talking about really getting after what you want and showing you how you can get it. So, you know, the man or the woman radiates personal attraction. Okay, sex magnetism, emotional magnetism, passion magnetism, your aggressive magnetism. You can't you can sway and control others. You can command success. You can influence people to do the things you want them to do. You can overcome nervousness, worry, ill health. So we're just hitting your desires really hard. And then we reveal the interesting booklet that will be happy to help you discover your magnetic powers. Okay, excellent, very cool. And we're doing an appeal to authority here with Edmund Shaftesbury's system. Very cool. We read that at length yesterday. I think you see how that's the ad man. All right, now David Ogilvy. That one's interesting because he's an ad man, right? But he's got a little bit more mixed in there because we have a listicle. So he's a little bit of a tour guide. You know, I know on the inside what it takes to get a Rolls Royce in shape, right? I know that it takes you know, all these coats of paint. Eventually it'll load this. My goodness. Okay, here we go. All right, so you know, he's an ad man. We know he's an ad man, but he's going to come in here. It's kind of listicle-y, right? So this is kind of chefy, but it's not showing you how to do something. So that's not how it goes. These are a list for features and benefits, right? So what are we doing? We're coming in here. We're seeing, okay, yeah, it has these things. What's a good example of him really? Yeah, okay. Spends, this is getting to the Claude Hopkins things. We're going to reveal very specific things that they do. Every Rolls-Royce engine is run for 7 hours at full throttle before installation, and each car is test driven for hundreds of miles over varying road surfaces. Okay. Oh, a little behind the scenes, the tour guide, right? The finished car spends a week in the final test shop being fine-tuned. Here it is subjected to 98 separate ordeals. For example, the engineers use a stethoscope to listen for axle whine. Fascinating. The coachwork is given 5 coats of primer paint and hand rub between each coat before 14 coats of finishing paint go on. All right, you see how this person is talking all about their desires, but that's not the bulk of it. We're gonna get to that. We're going to get to that a little bit back here. He really leans on that kind of like inner world. What all goes into this? I'm selling quality here. And he doesn't do that in all of his ads. He's more likely to be more of an ad man in other contexts. All right, Brian Moran. This is a personal coaching story. He's the owner of Samcart. He's done a bunch of things like he used to do like an online baseball school, but I can't think of the name of it right now. But anyways, he's very tour guidey. He loves telling stories to connect people eventually to buy from him. So, all right, here we go. Here's his writing. I think I have enough that I can read through it just all by itself. I want to share with you a story I've never told before. It was back in the early days of my online business journey, and I was struggling big time. I had all these ideas swirling in my head, but I just couldn't gain any real traction. I was trying every strategy under the sun: blogging, social media, paid advertising, you name it. But despite all my efforts, I didn't make a dime. I was frustrated, overwhelmed, and honestly ready to throw in the towel. That's when I reached out to Paul, my now mentor. I still remember the day I drove up to his office in Jersey for a mastermind event he was hosting with my stomach in knots, not knowing what to expect. I spent every last penny I had to attend the mastermind. I didn't even have enough for a hotel. I had to sleep on someone's couch in their room, but I made it there. And I remember sitting down across from him, and he just started firing questions at me. What's your unique selling proposition? How are you monetizing? What's your sales process look like? And it felt like an interrogation, but looking back, I realized he was doing what he does best, getting to the heart of the matter, identifying the gaps in my business. And then he said something to me that completely shifted my perspective. Brian, you're trying to do too much. You're chasing every shiny object, trying to be everywhere at once. But that's not how you build a successful business. You need to simplify. It was like a light bulb went off in my head. I had fallen victim to the trap that so many entrepreneurs do: information overload. There's so much advice out there, so many gurus claiming to have the secret formula that it's easy to get pulled in a million different directions. But Paul made me realize that all the complexity was actually holding me back. He told me to take a step back, to start from ground zero, and to focus on one simple strategy. So that's what I did. I stripped away all the excuses, all the noise, and focused on creating one great product and getting it in front of the right people. And you know what? That simple strategy started generating more traction and revenue than all my previous efforts combined. It changed the game for me. It took me from 0 to 6 figures a month in less than 3 months. And it's a lesson I've carried with me ever since. Whenever I find myself getting overwhelmed or veering off course, I remember Paul's words: simplify, focus, execute. It's not always easy, especially with all the distractions and shiny objects out there, but I can tell you from experience, it's the key to building a thriving, sustainable online business. And that's just one of the many invaluable lessons Paul has taught me over the years. His insights and guidance have been instrumental in helping me achieve the 8-figure success I enjoy today. And tomorrow, on his live call, Big Money from Small Markets with Tiny Products, he's going to be sharing even more of his wisdom. If you're feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or like you're spinning your wheels in your online business, you need to be on this call. Paul knows how to cut through the noise, identify the real opportunities, and guide you step by step to capitalizing on them. You should be this could be the turning point you've been looking for. To reserve your spot for tomorrow's call, just click here. I'll be there, notebook in hand, ready to soak up every insight. Hope to see you there too. To your success, Brian. All right, so that's a little bit of a tour guide, but at the end we're getting a little pastory, right? We're talking about like hopes and dreams and those sorts of things. So a nice combination of both of those things. All right, Ty Lopez here in my garage. I'm not going to show this video because I don't want to get in trouble, but we talked about it again the other day. He's kind of an ad man, kind of a journalist though, you know. He's kind of discovering things. You know what I like a lot more than material things? Knowledge. Here's all this stuff behind me. Did you know this? Did you know this? Well, those sorts of things changed my life, right? That's what sets the rich and the famous and the powerful and the successful apart. Oh, we're discovering that together, right? So that if you watch through, that's how that goes. Dickie Bush. Dickie Bush owns Ship 30 for 30, and he's gotten really popular on what is it? Quora for responding to people, right? Just really compelling responses that grab attention and get shared a lot. So here's the 10 books that helped me lose 100 pounds, gain control over my mind, and quit my job on Wall Street to build my own business. So he's kind of journalisty. He's kind of like discovering these things, right? That's how it tends to go. But he likes to tell stories, so it's also a little like inside baseball. Last week I received this text: could you share the list of the 10 books that most impacted your life? Without overthinking, I rattled off this list and hit reply. Efficiency by Wall Street Playboys, The Almanac of Naval by Eric Jorgensen, The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, Own the Day, Own Your Life by Aubrey Marcus, Awareness by Anthony DeMello, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, Mastery by Robert Greene, and The Goal by Eliyahu Goldratt. And after hitting send, I realized I'd never before reflected on this question. So tucked away in the corner of my new favorite Amsterdam coffee shop, I started to reminisce and reflect on each one of these books. When did I read them? What did they teach me? What would I recommend? Who would I recommend them to? Why did these in particular spring to the top of my mind when given this prompt? So this is a unique combination, right? We come in and we start with big benefits. This is kind of ad man-y, right? That's a good high promise title. Then we get in here, we instantly get the answer, and then we take it away. This is a unique thing for journalism, but this is sort of like the problem. He says, okay, here are the 10 books. Wait, after hitting send, why? Why did I do any of this? All right, so now we're gonna discover these questions together. So let's dive in. The first 21 years of my life, I despised reading. Summer reading was always a slog, yada, yada, yada. But during those 21 years, I didn't read any books. Why? Because But during those 21 years, I actually didn't need to read any books. Why? Because there's a simple roadmap for me to follow. It's the same roadmap practically everyone follows. Take the classes, play these sports, talk to the people, participate in these activities. The list goes on. For the first time in 21 years, life was set up like a bowling alley with bumpers. All right, so now we're transitioning from discovering it to something a little bit more. So let's see. Ooh. He's going with that journalism angle where we're discovering the answer together, but he's also, I think, a tour guide. I think he's really letting us into this inner story here, right? It's saying exactly what his life was like. But when I graduated, the real world slapped me with a realization that there's no longer a convenient roadmap. So during the years, I read 60 books across dozens of different genres: writing, self-help, business, philosophy, spirituality, productivity, relationships, science fiction, health and fitness. I was constantly inhaling information during my free time, one chapter every night before bed like clockwork, audiobooks during my commute to and from work, and 4 to 5 hours reading at the local bookstores every Saturday and Sunday morning. And don't get me wrong, this period of aggressive learning and consumption set the foundation for the personal progression that would come in the years to follow. But looking back, I certainly spent too much time in this consumption mode. All right, so now we're peeling back around, right? We're getting back to the original pitch for the 10. So out of the 60 you read, these are the 10 I wish I could go back in time and read first. Very cool. All right, excellent. I think we're getting a sense of how he's kind of a journalist. He's discovering the answer there. He likes to do that in his when you're signing up for his copywriting course. Very, very kind of similar here. It's a normal landing page where it says, all right, you're going to start writing online. We've got a big promise. Stop overthinking, finally start writing. We've got a couple of questions that they answer here, some social proof, but then we're going to get into like discovering the problem and the answers to the problems, right? The accountability you've been missing. Writing alone is hard. Writing with a community is easy. Maybe you've tried before. Demolishing your bad writing habits. These are the 3 killers of great writing. Stop publishing into the void. All right, so now we're getting into ad man territory. So you see how these things kind of flow together in this way. But he likes to start with like big questions and problems. The Art of Manliness definitely does this. Very, very similarly. Hey, since I mentioned the Strenuous Life, convenient that it worked out that way. The Strenuous Life will help you put your abstract intentions into action. I wish to preach not the doctrine of ignoble ease, but the doctrine of the strenuous life. Theodore Roosevelt. What is the Strenuous Life? The Strenuous Life is a platform for those who wish to revolt against our age of ease, comfort, and existential weightlessness. So you can sign up to join the waiting list here. Your 12-week initiation into a life of strenuosity. So here's all the things that you have to do. Badges, physical fitness, weekly challenges, training the soul, and accountability. You kind of get an insight into the whole program and what you get and everything. So this one's a little bit more pastory, actually. I know I wrote down that he was journalisty. That's probably because the 100 books is like that. Yeah, okay, so we've done all this stuff, and now we're actually, we always do journalisty stuff, but now we're journalizing ourselves. We're figuring out, what out of all the things we've recommended, what are the 100 that you have to read, right? And that's the list. So it's a mini journalism thing. But in the Strenuous Life, we're definitely getting something that's a little bit more of the pastor, right? And we get to enjoy it here with a quote from Theodore Roosevelt. Your abstract intentions into action. So now we're talking about moral things, not just sitting by and actually accomplishing something. And down here, let's see, it's how we write into this. The Strenuous Life is a platform for those who wish to revolt against our age of ease, comfort, and existential weightlessness. It is a base of operations for those who are dissatisfied with the status quo and want to connect with the real world through the acquisition of skills that increase their sense of autonomy and mastery. It's for those who desire more challenge, who want to stretch themselves and do hard things, who want to experience life firsthand rather than second. The Strenuous Life pushes members to take action on those desires to live more strenuously and holds members accountable in their goal of becoming better men. It facilitates the training of mind, body, and soul, motivating members to leave the strata of mediocrity and attain to greater excellence and service in the world. That's an aspiration, right? And then everything else is showing you how you do that. So that's a good combination of pastor an ad man, I'd say. And it's not a hard ad man. It's just like, we're satisfying those conditions. So really well done, really powerful. And I know I wrote journalist, but I'm gonna add in pastor. I'm gonna add in pastor there. Okay, Gary Vaynerchuk. Let's see. So this is the early paragraphs of his, I think, first book, Crush It. I'm not entirely confident, but Crush It is his book, right? So opening paragraphs. Passion is everything. How badly do you want to crush it? Is it an all-consuming feeling? Do you stay awake at night, your brain swimming with ideas and dreams? Are you willing to do whatever it takes for the chance to live entirely on your own terms? If so, you're lucky. You're lucky because you live in an age of unmatched opportunity for anyone with enough hustle, patience, and big dreams. I should know because that's all I had to work with. 3 years ago, I was an anomaly, a guy with very limited technology skills, very limited, who used social media sites like Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr to build a highly fulfilling and profitable personal brand. Back then, a lot of people were unwilling to accept that the business world and society was changing. And if I had tried to tell you that you could build a business that creates wealth and the most happiness you had ever known with nothing more than passion and a willingness to work your face off, you might not have believed me. Now, though, the opportunities are endless. I don't think enough people have yet grasped how much society and business and even the internet has changed. And my story is about to become a lot less unusual. If you want it badly enough, it can become your story in a lot less time and for a lot less money. Here's how fast change has taken hold. I helped take my dad's liquor store, Shoppers Discount Liquors, and blew it up from $4 million to a $50 million a year business in 8 years, from 98 to 2005. I'm proud of that. But aside from a ton of hard work, it took millions of dollars in advertising with the New York Times, Wine Spectator, and other publications, as well as radio stations and local TV. Compare that to when I built my personal brand in 2006. To this day, it has cost me far less money, let's say less than 15 grand, but it cost me a lot of sweat, and I'm having more fun than I have in my entire life. You've got sweat, right? You may not have the connections or the wealth or even the education, but with enough passion and enough sweat, you can make a lot happen. And so he goes on to explain his 3 rules for this. Number 1, you have to love your family. Number 2, you have to work super hard. And number 3, you have to live your passion, which is an ethos appeal. You know, I'm the kind of guy who follows my passions. You want to be like that. So I know I said journalist because his whole book is kind of going to that. Like, how do you do that? Let's discover it. It's a really good combination here. So the opening here is obviously super pastory and super tour guidey, right? We're letting you into my story about how all this went, but we're going to talk about all these qualities that you desperately want, like these higher ideals that you're going to. You know, you want to live entirely on your own terms. Your brain is swimming with ideas and dreams. You want to crush it. It's an all-consuming. This is the gospel of ambition, right? And Gary Vaynerchuk is preaching it. So he comes out, he's preaching that. And then afterwards, he's going to go on to explain his 3 rules, right? This is his inner story. This is his discovery of what works and why. So that's a great example. This opening paragraph, very pastory, very tour guidey, but the rest of it's going to be kind of journalist tour guide, where he's letting you into his personal story and his personal discovery. Dale Carnegie. Now this one, we're getting really into the pastor, right? So this is from his book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And there's a story about Lincoln writing a letter to chastise General Meade after Gettysburg and failing to capture Lee. He basically was like, oh, you could have had him, you could have rushed across the river and gotten him, but you didn't. And so here is the excerpt from Dale Carnegie and How to Win Friends and Influence People. And what do you suppose Meade did when he read the letter? Meade never saw that letter. Lincoln never mailed it. It was found among his papers after his death. My guess is, and this is only a guess, that after writing the letter, Lincoln looked out of the window and said to himself, just a minute, maybe I ought not to be so hasty. It is easy enough for me to sit here in the quiet of the White House and order Meade to attack. But if I had been up there at Gettysburg, and if I had seen as much blood as Meade had during the last week, and if my ears had been pierced with the screams of the wounded and dying, maybe I wouldn't have been so anxious to attack either. If I had Meade's timid temperament, perhaps I would have done just what he had done. Anyhow, That is all water under the bridge. If I send this letter, it will relieve my feelings, but it will make Meade try to justify himself. Wow, this is judge not lest ye be judged, right? This is, again, just that full pastoral quality. And he does it over and over and over throughout this book of really preaching, understanding the people around you and communicating with them in a way that understands where they're coming from and what they want. You know, a lot of what we've been talking about in this course. Again, communication and copywriting and speech making are not that different. And neither is how you conduct yourself in life, right? You want to persuade a general to follow your orders, to do what you want, to go capture people. Some degree of consumer psychology, basically, is necessary. All right, Martin Luther King. We've already read a big thing from him. Very much the pastor here. Quite literally a pastor. And here we go. I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day out in the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even in the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. You know those words. They resonated through decades and decades and decades. One of the best speakers of all time. Andrew Klavan, hilarious guy. He opens all of his presentations with basically comedy skits. And I have 3 of them here. I wish I could show them to you again. I wish I would have gotten transcripts. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll just go for transcripts really quick. So here's his opening. All right, if you've been feeling a little out of sorts lately, bloated, crampy, over-emotional, it may be because it's that time of the month when we visit our favorite website every day, Feminism, here at the Andrew Klavan Show. We love everyday feminism. It gives us a day off from writing creative, hilarious satire that underscores the absurdity of leftists, because all we have to do is read what's on the site out loud there. After there are a couple of wonderful pieces up on everyday feminism right now. For instance, here's one about a woman who's pregnant with a baby girl. It's called 8 Things I'll Do to Raise a Fat Positive Kid. You see, feminists believe that girls feel too much pressure to be physically attractive so that they'll be healthy and have a positive sense of themselves, and appeal to the visual instincts of a man who might then get to know and love them and help them have a happy and fulfilling life. Instead of feminists, a happy and fulfilling life. Instead, feminists feel a girl needs to learn to be fat positive so that she won't become shallow and insecure, but will simply have a heart attack and die. So this expectant mother on Everyday Feminism has listed her ideas on how she can raise a fat positive daughter. For instance, by displaying fat positive artwork, introducing her daughter to and giving her daughter defibrillator so that she can shock herself back to life after she collapses on the floor. Girls need to learn that being fat positive is much easier than developing self-discipline and eating well, which is annoying and involves less cake. Another article on Everyday Feminism is called 5 Supposedly Empowering Things We Need to Do to Stop Telling People About Their Periods. This is like setting me back. We're going to have minus, what is happening with this here? This is all right. This is what I'm guessing he's laughing. This is what I'm talking about. 5 supposedly empowering things we need to stop telling people about their periods. This is an absolutely amazing article because it exists and takes up space that could be used by something more important, like an episode of all 10 seasons of Happy Days, or a video of a German Shepherd who can sing like a parakeet. Among the supposedly empowering things we need to stop telling people about their periods, our periods make a woman, the author, about their periods. Our periods make you a woman. The author points out that, quote, trans men get periods and non-binary people get periods, and that doesn't mean the trans men and non-binary people are actually women. Oh wait, yes it does. And maybe we should skip over that one too. Another thing we need to stop saying about periods is that periods bind women together. I have to admit, this is kind of a disgusting image, and maybe we should stop saying it, although maybe now it's too late because the image is already in my mind. Finally, the author objects to being told that periods, quote, embody woman's ever-changing, unquote. She says such claims make her absolutely furious, and she wants to throw things across the room and rip the heads off anyone who even talks to her, although probably that's just because she's having her period. I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is the Andrew Klavan Show. All right, so that's how he basically opens every single one of his presentations. I've got two more here for you. Crap Gets Real and BLM supports racist Karl Marx. He's, interestingly enough, a former journalist. He's a writer. You know, he writes fiction, but he likes to open it with that comedic take. Sam Riegel, Best Ads Compilation, hilarious guy. Basically built the entire Critical Role advertising network. People love his ads, and he's just kind of being silly with what on a normal podcast would be super basic, straightforward ads. No, this is people looking up his ads and have 750,000 views just from wanting to watch how funny his ads are, right? All right, so here we go. I'll just read this one. This is a great example of it. I might even be allowed to post this one because clearly they've posted the top ads. So I'll post, again, some of my reactions to these after this. And you'll link to them below. But this is really worth, if you think you might be on the comedian side of things, these are great ads, man. They're a lot of fun. So here we go. So what's happening here is the whole premise is Sam is running against one of the other people for president of D&D Beyond, which is not even a thing, but they're kind of competing about the storyteller versus the rules-based person. Who likes what about D&D more, right? So here we go. D&D Beyond wants you to know that the new D&D Essentials Kit is coming to Target. It includes a newly designed rulebook that onboards players by teaching them how to make characters and adventures, yada, yada, yada. Here's where we get into the big thing. You know, my president to become president of D&D Beyond. Wow, I had to suspend my campaign because of a filthy rumor from the O'Brien campaign, as he decided to go low and accused me of colluding with a foreign power, lying about it and making a deep fake video to cover it up, which sounds like me, but it wasn't, I promise. So I'm announcing that my campaign has resumed as of today because that's the kind of fighter I am, and a believer, and because I have a special secret weapon, I am a great debater. In fact, some would say I'm a master debater. We're getting into dicey territory here. Actually, I got that nickname in high school. When I would walk down the hall, kids would say, "There goes Sam, the master debater." And they were right. I master debate all the time. I master debate in the shower. I master debate in the back of a lift. I will come to your house and master debate in your closet while you are asleep. My master debating never stops, which is why I'm challenging Liam O'Brien to a debate right here, sometime in July. You guys can all tune in and watch me master debate Liam O'Brien in front of your own eyes. And I will master debate Liam O'Brien as long as it takes until he comes to the realization that I am even more of a furious master debater than him. But I'll need your help. So go ahead and tweet your debate questions to @DND Beyond, and make sure to include the hashtag MasterDebater. Thank you for your support and your faith in the campaign. Remember, rule of cool always beats rules. As written, God bless America. Everyone master debate yourself tonight. That's the end of it. Yeah, okay, so it's crazy, right? This guy is insane, but you can see why people would, for fun, look up his ads afterwards. Now, all of it is pointing back to D&D Beyond, right? He's trying to become president of D&D Beyond, which is not a position, but he gets to make fun of a lot of things along the way. You like him, you like the show, and because of that, you have positive feelings about the D&D Beyond brand. Now, has Critical Role totally separated themselves from D&D Beyond because they've made, Wizards of the Coast have made some questionable licensing decisions? Yeah, sure. But anyways, very, very funny guy. If you think you might be in the comedian category, very worth watching. Also, I know you've seen him, Ryan Reynolds with Mint Mobile. And fortunately, once again, this is going to be one that is, what? Oh, okay. I guess we have a shirtless man here. All right. So short little ad. I'm not going to share it here just for possible copyright reasons, but I'll say the lines. At Mint Mobile, we like to do the opposite of what big wireless does. They charge you a lot. We charge you a little. They put their names on arenas. We put ours on my lower back. So naturally, when they announced they'd be raising the prices due to inflation, we decided to deflate our prices due to not hating you. And And if this were one of their ads, they'd end it here with a happy customer. So we'll end ours with an angry goat. Oh, look at the angry goat. All right, they're just being funny. They're having a good time. They're comparing themselves to others. Generally, you like Ryan and you like his brands, right? That's the whole goal of the comedian angle, and he does it really well. Did I do all of it? I think I did all of it. Yeah. How am I doing on time? I'm running out of time. All right, so. From current slide, will that just take over? Okay, so we're gonna get to writing very soon, but before you write, I want you to remember to pay attention to all these things we've talked about so far. You need to think about features versus benefits. You need to tell a story. You need to write simply, use metaphors and enthymemes instead of going on long-winded about things. Make people like you by making appeal to ethos, being similar to them, being relatable, doing hard things, being interesting, being yourself. Use one of the 6 copywriting characters. That's what we're talking about now. And then we'll have to edit and probably do some research to write things. So we're going to focus on using the 6 copywriting characters today, but as you're writing, try and keep all these things that we've learned so far in the back of your mind. Excellent. Now, that sounds like a lot to remember. I get it, which is why you can find all the cheat sheets below in the description. And if you're worried that you're going to get caught up on all these rules and basically get stuck writing, you're going to love tomorrow because I'm going to show you the only 9 writing formulas, and we've already used a lot of them so far, but I'm going to show you the only 9 writing formulas you'll ever need to permanently kill writer's block, become a professional writer, and generally not get long-winded and rambly and crazy and get everyone confused like I often do. All right, so here we go. Here's going to be the live practice. So today, instead of rolling for things, you are going to roll, right? Is that right? The 6 copywriting homeworks. Okay, so you are going to go out and you're going to find 2 writers that you admire. You're going to create a breakdown of their writing styles. You're going to record yourself talking to a camera and talk about their writing style and what you like about it. You're going to reflect on your writing so far. What is your style? What do you like? What do you not like? If you need to write out some of how other people would describe you, how you would describe yourself, you can do that to figure out which character is going to be your main character that you kind of play in. And then you're going to apply and think about an industry that you're passionate about and knowledgeable about. And you're going to write 3 promos and 3 styles, which is a bit like what I was doing here. So you'll only write in 3 different styles. I'll write in all 6 just to give you a good sense of it. But I'm going to be writing for Tactpack. Tactpack is my theoretical backpack brand that looks like something you want to take into a boardroom. Very, very classy, but also it's tactful, but it's tactical, right? It has all the functions that you come to expect out of, like a military backpack or a police and fire backpack, or out of just like a general everyday carry or hiking backpack. It has high functionality, but functions in the boardroom, and I'm going to be pitching all of those through these things, through these 6 different characters to show you how they work. All right, so let's do this thing. So we're going to be talking about Tactpack, my fictional company, a backpack that is both tactical and tactful. And we're going to be doing it in the 6 different styles: the comedian, the ad man, the journalist, the chef, the tour guide, and the pastor. And we're going to be kicking things off with the comedian. All right, so we have the comedian. All right, so I have an existing list of subscribers. Let's say they've subscribed from YouTube, where I do EDC gear reviews. Just launched my own pack. Okay, so that's the situation. A comedian. What's a comedic angle we can go with here? So I'm thinking about the subject line and the body. So I could go with a joke, or maybe a story where I drop everything. Has anything ever funny happened to me when I was trying to carry stuff in a backpack? Is that funny? I kind of have a story. It's more of a tour guide thing. I'll be able to use that later. Okay, so fun stuff. The time I nearly was thrown into a Russian prison. Okay. Subject line's a little long, so I'll probably come back to it. How I almost got thrown into Russian prison. Yeah, I'll come back to that. All right. So this sounds serious, it was serious, but it will sound funnier over time. So generally, here's my story. I'm gonna have my 3-act structure. So I'm gonna have inciting. I'll have the action. I'll have the climax and the CTA. And so I kind of have a hook here as well. We're always thinking about the hook. So I have to tie into how I almost got thrown into a Russian prison. And generally the way this goes is I had a tactical backpack I never used. So now I'm kind of going after the Pixar story structure. Once upon a time, life was like this, then this happened, then this, then this, and this, because that, and then here we are at the way life is now. Okay, so I had a tactical backpack I never used. So that's once upon a time, every day I've always loved backpacks. That's my once upon a time. I have one for EDC, one for school, one for the backwoods. And that meant over the years I had, okay, so that first line isn't going to connect. I had amassed over a dozen backpacks. Every day I had the one I used every day. Okay, so we're starting with once upon a time, then we have every day. But one day I needed a different bag for vacation. I took it into Sweden, then Finland, then Russia, and back into Sweden. It was a cheap tactical pack from Amazon that I never used. Sorry, this is more of an outline than anything, and this is not going to be in a great order here. I'm just trying to kind of get the rough bones of a story out there, and then I'll try and make it a little bit more interesting and funny. There's a cheap tactical backpack from Amazon that I never use. So you can imagine my surprise when the security guard told me I had told me she had found an illegal street weapon inside. The Stockholm airport security guard told me that she found a legal street weapon inside one of my least favorite backpacks. Okay, so I think that's going to be the order. Changing this, my backpack nearly got me arrested. Always love backpacks. And it always seems like you need a slightly different one for every mission, whether it's an EDC bag for going to the movies. I just had it. A laptop bag for school or work, or a good 50 plus liter bag for the back country. And what I hate is, and no matter the bag, I hate something with no storage. So I took this cheap tactical backpack I got on Amazon on vacation because I needed a bag with a wider hip belt. I took it into Sweden. So you can imagine my surprise when the bag sucked. It barely kept my stuff organized. So I was eager to get home and swap it out for my EDC bag. Oops. All right, so here we are. I think I'm starting to get a structure here. Oops. I had forgotten that I had carried this. I had this bag with me in San Antonio 3 years earlier when my friend's car was nearly broken into. So I stuffed a taser into the hydration pouch without a second thought. And now that had come back to bite me. All because the bag had no organization. I had forgotten it was there, and now I was about to be arrested. Okay, so this isn't very funny so far. I've kind of put together the basics of a story here. There's some extra information here that's going on where this is like one of my first vacations with my girlfriend's family, where there's probably something funny there, where I'm clearly not impressing them by accidentally smuggling weapons into a country and nearly getting arrested. The Russia part, by the way, is I eventually, they ended up letting me go from Sweden and just destroying my taser. It's like a $20 taser, like a little rectangle, like stun gun thing. But I'd walked through Russia quite a bit with this thing. And I got there, I had a buzz cut at the time, and I had this black Molly backpack on. And the security guy, when he's looking at my passport, goes, you are military? And I was like, no, I'm not military. Let me through. But man, if they do scans of your backpacks when you go into all the different monuments and stuff. And I was like, if I was carrying a street weapon through Russia, I would have never come home. So anyways, now the problem we're having is we have the story, but I'm supposed to be making it funny, right? So funny happens when we get a little bit of tension here. And what normally comes to me pretty easily for humor is just not coming to me right now. So I'm wondering if I want to boot this to tour guide and think of a different angle for comedy. Yeah, I'm going to bump this. It just, as I outlined it, it's dark comedy, but it's just not, it's not going there. So you're going into tour guide, you're my backstory there. Okay, going back to comedy. Actually, you know what? Let me just go ahead and finish this out. All right, we're going to go to the tour guide. How my backpack nearly got me arrested. I've always loved backpacks. I should expand on that. I've always loved backpacks. I love having the ability to carry a full first aid kit, fire kit, my laptop, and my laptop with me everywhere I go. But, dude, I'm just not writing well right now. I've always loved backpacks. I love having the ability to carry a full first aid kit, fire kit, and my laptop with me everywhere I go. But I don't always like, oh man, I'm gonna go right back to comedy. I don't always like projecting a Rambo vibe everywhere I go. All of my gear with me, just in case the apocalypse comes or my wife needs to borrow some chapstick. Okay, we're back to comedy. I've always loved backpacks. I love having the ability to carry all of my gear with me just in case the apocalypse comes or my wife needs to borrow some chapstick. But I don't always like projecting a Rambo vibe everywhere I go, which is why I have a lot of backpacks. I have the perfect sling bag for EDC, the perfect a sleek laptop bag for the boardroom, and an awesome ultra light backpack I use in the back country. But no matter the mission, I always look for a good admin pouch. Seriously, it could be the difference Seriously, it should, let's type back into the top, it should be illegal to make a bag without one. Here's why. When I was just graduating high school and in my tactical days, I bought a $40 no-name Molly backpack from Amazon. I know. Embarrassing. I used it for a couple of years before getting a real bag and retiring that one to the back of the closet. But one day I needed a different bag for a family vacation. One day I needed a bag with with a wider hip belt for a family vacation where we would be walking a lot. So I pulled it out of retirement, packed it to the brim, and flew to Europe for a cruise with my then girlfriend's family. Every day I walked all around. Every day I carried 20 plus pounds of gear through Sweden, then Finland, then Russia, and back to Sweden again. The bag sucked. It barely kept my stuff organized. So I bought I know, embarrassing. It was basically just a single dump pouch. It was basically just a giant dump pouch with straps on it. But I used it for a couple of years before getting a real bag and retiring that one to the back of the closet. But one day I needed a bag with a wider hip belt for a family vacation where we would be walking a lot. So I pulled it out of retirement, packed it to the brim, and flew to Europe for a cruise with my then girlfriend's family. Every day I carried 20 plus pounds of gear through Sweden, then Finland, then Russia, and back into Sweden again. The bag sucked. I have too many things that are the same length. We're going to go, the bag sucked. It barely kept my stuff organized, so I was eager to get home and swap it out for my EDC bag. So you can imagine my surprise. That doesn't transition very well. So you can imagine my surprise when the Stockholm airport security guard told me she had found an illegal street weapon inside one of my least favorite backpacks. Oops. I'd forgotten that I had this bag with me in San Antonio 3 years earlier when my friend's car was nearly broken into. So I stuffed a taser in this bag's hydration bladder pouch without a second thought. So, to stay safe, I stuffed, I don't know, do I need to expand on that? I had forgotten that I had this bag with me in San Antonio 3 years earlier when my friend's car was nearly broken into. Some thug decided to waltz into the street, and his parents' new Camaro. Little did he know that they were both retired cops and armed to the teeth. Luckily, nothing happened, but to stay safe, I stuffed a taser into my bag's hydration bladder pouch without a second thought. And now that had come back to bite me. Not only had I delayed my international flight, I had seriously pissed off my girlfriend's parents, who already didn't like me. And now I was facing jail time in a country whose language I did not know. All because this bag had no organization. I had forgotten it was there, and now I was, and all because this bag had no organization. Now, how do I move into the call to action, right? Gotta move into the call to action. All because this bag had no organization. Fortunately, they let me go. I still have their notice of impound in my office. I'm thinking about getting it framed, but I still haven't found a bag that that serves all of my needs. It has to look good, look presentable in an office. It needs to have the tactical and outdoor functionality I need. And it needs to have a decent admin pouch. That last one, let's do parentheses here. That last one could be a matter of life and death. That always happens. But I still haven't found a bag that serves all of my needs. It has to look presentable in an office. It needs to have the tactical and outdoor functionality I need, and it needs to have a decent admin pouch. That last one could be a matter of life or death. So I had no choice but to design my own bag. And after years of R&D, I'm proud to announce the Tactpack the world's first tactical and tactful backpack designed to keep you safe and out of international prisons. Check it out in this week's video review. Okay. David. I think that's pretty good. It could be a little bit better. Let's read through and see if it's going to be funny at all. I think there's some parts where I kind of tapped into it, right? I guess you're somehow the comedian also here. All right, we're just going to go up and delete that top comedian. We're going to go to add man, and add man is now the top. Insert. Break. Okay, the comedian. My backpack nearly got me arrested. I've always loved backpacks. I love having the ability to carry all of my gear with me just in case the apocalypse comes or my wife needs to borrow some chapsticks. But I don't always like projecting a Rambo vibe everywhere I go, which is why I have a lot of backpacks. I have the perfect sling bag. I have the perfect sling bag for EDC, a sleek laptop bag for the boardroom, and an awesome ultralight backpack I use in the country. Plus a half dozen more just because they were cool. Plus an awesome ultralight backpack I use in the backcountry. Plus a half dozen more just because they were cool. But no matter the mission, I always look for a good admin pouch. Seriously, it should be illegal to make a bag without one. Here's why. When I was just graduating high school, in my tactical days, I bought a $40 no-name Molly backpack from Amazon. I know, embarrassing. It was basically just a giant dump pouch with straps on it, but I used it for a couple of years before getting a real bag and retiring. I feel like I need to change the structure of it a little bit here. It was basically a giant dump pouch with straps on it, but I used it for a couple of years before getting a real bag. And once I did, I threw the old one to the back of my closet, never expecting to need it again. And one day I threw the old one deep into my closet, never expecting to need it again. But one day I needed a bag with a wider hip belt for family vacation where I'd be walking a lot. And it was the only one I had. So I gritted my teeth. So I prepared for a miserable couple of weeks, pulled the crap pack out of retirement, packed it to the brim, and flew to Europe for a cruise with my then girlfriend's family. Every day I carried 20 plus pounds of gear through Sweden, then Finland, then Russia, and back to Sweden again. The bag sucked. It barely kept my stuff organized, so I was eager to get home and swap it out for my EDC bag. So you can imagine my surprise when the Stockholm airport security guard, there's way too much going on there. When the airport security guard told me she had found an illegal street weapon inside of one of my least favorite backpacks. Oops. I'd forgotten that I had this bag with me in San Antonio 3 years earlier when my friend's car was nearly broken into. some thug had decided to waltz in the street and eye his parents' new Camaro. Little did he know they were both retired cops and armed to the teeth. Luckily, nothing happened, but to stay safe, I stuffed the taser into my bag's hydration bladder pouch, without a second thought. And now that had come back to bite me. Not only had I delayed my international flight, I had seriously pissed off my girlfriend's parents, who already didn't like me, and now I was facing jail time in a country whose language I did not know. All because this bag had no organization. Fortunately, the Swedish cops, after a half hour of interrogation, the Swedish cops let me go. I still have their notice of impound in my office. I'm thinking about getting it framed. The Swedish cops let me go and destroyed my taser. I still have their notice of impound in my office. I'm thinking about getting it framed. But I still haven't found a bag that serves all of my needs. It has to look presentable in an office. It needs to have the tactical and outdoor functionality I need, and it needs to have a decent admin pouch. It needs to have it needs to have a quick access admin pouch. That last one could be a matter of life or death. So I had no choice but to design my own bag. And after years of R&D, I'm proud to announce the Tactpack, the world's first tactical and tactful backpack designed to keep you safe and out of international prisons. Check it out in this week's video review. I think that's pretty funny. Again, you're not really going for funny exactly. We talked about that earlier. You can be humorous, but not funny. And so you don't want to cross that line there. So let's go back to the ad man. And the ad man is going to talk through features and benefits, right? Subject, line, body. So we're going to talk features and benefits, stress tests. So features and benefits, 2-inch shoulder straps with load lifters. I carried 300 pounds for 5 miles. That's way too much. No, I carried 200 pounds for 5 miles just to show you how good it is. That's fun. That's a good, like, Billy Mays here. Look at this boat. I guess he's OxyClean. All right, 2-inch shoulder straps with load lifters and a stress test. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Subject line. My 200-pound EDC. Body. Your EDC should be light. Kind of a big claim. You're gonna die. If you can't carry the right gear with you, you could die. Seriously. If you're missing a chest vent during a mass shooting, someone could die. If you don't have a tarp or poncho when the heavens open up. Now, if you don't have a tarp or a poncho, when I would say the Great Flood, during if you don't have a tarp or a poncho and get caught in a rainstorm, you could die. If you don't have a way to purify water I'm definitely going to have to rework this section here. If you're missing a chest vent during a mass shooting, someone could die. If you don't have a tarp or a poncho, okay, I'm going to need to switch that. You could die. Someone could stop breathing. You could freeze. If you don't have a way to purify water, and the city's purification plant goes down, you could end up drinking sewage. And dying. I don't know if I like that. If you can't carry the right gear with you, you might die. If you're missing a chest vent, if you can't carry the right gear with you, you die. You could die. If you can't carry the right gear with you, you could die. Seriously, if you're missing a chest vent, if you don't have a chest vent during a mass shooting, someone could stop breathing. If you don't have a tarp or a poncho and get caught in a rainstorm, you could freeze. If you don't have a way to purify water and the city's purification plant goes down, you could end up drinking sewage and dying. So even though you may not want to carry everything in the world with you, you appreciate a pack that can. Introducing the Tactpack. I like my line I had earlier for comedian. It's the first backpack bag. Yeah, that's not at all what I remembered it being. Okay. Introducing the Tactpack. I can't believe how late it is. I'm gonna have to write this tomorrow. Introducing the Tactpack. Am I at the ad man? You appreciate a pack that can. Introducing the Tactpack. The world's first tactical and tactful backpack designed to keep you safe and looking great in the boardroom. It features a hideable 4-inch waist strap, a easy access EDC, stowaway EDC, compartment for your EDC, for your CCW. We'll just say that CCW. hideable 4-inch waist strap, an easy access compartment for your CCW. A 2-inch shoulder straps with load lifters. So even when you need to carry to double your gear capacity, you double your loadout, you know this bag can handle it. And to prove it to you, I loaded it up with over 200 pounds of steel and sand and took it around town for all of my weekend chores. See how it went here in this week's video. Okay, cool. I'm going to call it there. I'm going to have to come back to this in the morning because it's 1:30. Good night. All right, copywriters, my apologies for last night. All right, copywriters, my apologies for my voice being super quiet the other day. I did a little bit of writing. I got through. All right, copywriters, my apologies for how the way. All right, everyone, and before we jump into homework really fast, this is a different day. I'm doing this at a different time because I had a meeting I had to go to. Then I was getting into practice, but I couldn't do it that day. Then I didn't sleep at all. And so I woke up at like 1:30 in the morning and was like, I guess I can't sleep. I'm going to go teach some copywriting. So my voice was a little flat. I was pushing through, not writing very well. So I think I'll probably take some time to actually reread some of what I've done and go through it. But today I am chipper. It is only 9:15 at night. I can write well right now, and it's a good time. Go ahead and watch it through. It's good to see how you should push through those when you're not, feeling the most energetic, when you're like, it's not coming, that's when other people would give up, and you just have to learn how to push through. So go ahead and watch it. And with that, here's the homework. Deal with sleepy me. And then after we write 2 of them, you'll come back and you'll get energetic 9:15 David. All right. See you then. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's just start. Let's shake it off. All right. Thank you. Super tired, David. Let's shake it off. We're getting back into it. I speak fully now and I can write well. Let's go through what I did yesterday in the Ad Man and the Comedian and see what I would change, if anything. I was feeling frustrated yesterday, but maybe I pushed through. It didn't feel creative and I wrote well. So we'll see. Subject line, my 200-pound EDC. If you can't carry the right gear with you, you could die. Seriously. If you don't have a chest vent during a mass shooting, someone could stop could stop breathing. Sorry, I thought they could stop the bleeding. I was like, oh, that's counterintuitive. Okay, seriously. If you don't have a chest vent during a mass shooting, someone could stop breathing. If you don't have a tarp or a poncho and you get caught in a rainstorm, you could freeze. I don't like the or there, so I'm just going to say, if you don't have a poncho, and get caught in a rainstorm, you could freeze. If you don't have a way to purify water, too many words. If you don't have a water purifier, and the city's plant goes down, city's water plant goes down, so we're not saying purify 2 times. All right, if you don't have a water purifier and the city's water plant goes down, you could end up drinking sewage and dying. I'm going to hit ... dots on either side of that, ... and dying. So even though you may not want to carry everything in the world with you, you appreciate a pack that can. Introducing the Tactpack, the world's first tactical and tactful backpack designed to keep you safe and looking great in the boardroom. Keep you safe and looking stylish. We're going to take the boardroom out. Looking stylish. It has shorter words. Didn't like whatever just happened. Okay, there we go. A hideable 4-inch waist strap. Okay, 4-inch needs a dash. 4-inch. See, there's no benefit in these bullets. It features comfortable 4-inch waist straps to carry to keep your back comfortable, to keep your back happy. An easy access compartment for your CCW. A rapid, you don't care about easy, you care about rapid access. A rapid access compartment. Is compartment the word I want to use? Section. What I keep wanting to say is pouch, but pouch isn't correct, right? A rapid access compartment for your CCW. Section. Yeah, a rapid access compartment for your CCW. So you're never without protection. And the perfect, I already kind of hit comfort, right? So I've got comfort, I've got protection. All right, so once again, all right, so this is the thing with bullets. You want to put your benefit first. So see, my back being happy is way behind the feature, the comfortable 4-inch. So this is typically how you write bullets. Naturally, you want to put the feature first and put the benefit after, but people scan things. And so what I'm going to read is this first word. I'm not going to read this back half. So you have to learn to write bullets specifically, though it can be helpful in other spots, especially like call to actions at the end. So like, see how it went. You could say, like watch the video. Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. Okay. Comfortable. So I got to put, it has is leading me to say features first, and that's a bad move. So what I want to say is with the Tactpack, you get, you keep your back happy with our comfortable 4-inch waist straps. See how we rearrange that? With Tactpack, you stay safe and secure with our stay safe with our rapid access compartment for your CCW. So we keep your back happy, we stay safe and secure. What's something else we want from backpack? Probably you stay organized with our comfortable 4-inch waist straps and load lifter. So we'll just add that up there. So that's all back happy. And then we're going to go keep your back happy, stay safe and secure. And we want to keep organized with 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 different compartments with 6 different compartments that keep your gear readily accessible. Keep your gear organized and accessible. Okay, so one thing that's worth noting, and I'm not going to do it here right now, is that you probably want to test these things. You really don't want bullets going to a second line. So remember that. That's just one that you see me rewriting stuff and I'm like, oh man, I've got too many words. You don't want it to go to too many lines. But if this were an email and not a landing page, they are typically narrower than your average Google Doc. So you might think, oh, this is fine. But when you actually put it into HubSpot or Klaviyo or MailChimp or whatever you're using, it will actually compress it down and a bunch of stuff will go to a second line that you weren't anticipating. So right now, we're not dealing with that. We're just talking about how to write good copy, but it is something that you should keep in mind that these lines will likely adjust. So let me keep that in mind. Keep your back happy and comfortable with. Okay, so that's not going to save us a single character. So we just have to ditch comfortable here. Keep your back happy is better than comfortable, right? So let's think about like those short kind of visceral words. Happy is more evocative than comfortable, you know? So we want to say happy. Keep your back happy with our 4-inch waist straps and load lifters. Stay safe and secure with a rapid access compartment for your CCW. So I don't like that. Rapid access for yours is not necessary. So now we're talking about how to cut down words again, right? This is why you review. You go through things, you think it sounds good, and you go, compartment for your CCW, why would I write it that way instead of saying a rapid access CCW compartment? Save 2 words, much shorter. Okay, keeping going. Keep organized with 7 different compartments that keep your gear organized and accessible. Okay. With Tactpack, you see, keep organized is what I want. So now organized is duplicative. So we say keep organized with 7 different compartments that keep your gear accessible. Too big of a word. I'm going to say keep your gear close at hand. Keep organized with different compartments is not necessary, but it does feel like I'm missing something there now. Keep organized with 7 compartments that keep your gear close at hand. Good enough for now. Good enough for now, but that is something I probably do. Okay, so here's an example of when I would use ChatGPT. You just say, it's not happening for me right now. I don't know, I already rewrote it. I'm gonna say, this line is not quite as punchy as I want for my marketing copy. Please help. Stay sorted with 7 smart compartments, everything you need right where you need it. That's pretty good. 7 compartments, 0 chaos. Keep your gear ready for action. Okay, so again, this is one of those, it doesn't know. It doesn't know that I want to stay sorted. No clutter, just grab, go, dominate. So it doesn't know that those are bullets. So that punchiness is it's off. None of those are good. So functional and crisp is a little bit more what I'm going for. Thank you. So I'm going to borrow from here. So, you know, it doesn't know how I'm leading into this, but stay sorted is how I want to do the bullets. That's my benefit. You know, I don't want to gear up. I want to stay sorted, but I don't want to stay sorted. I want to, and I want to say stay because I just said stay, right? So I want to say keep organized with 7 smart compartments. You need right where you need it. Okay, so we're back to it, huh? With 7, keep organized with 7 compartments to keep your gear close at hand. With 7 smart compartments. I don't like smart compartments. Smart compartments is a bad adjective for a tactical backpack. Yeah. Too techy or soft for a tactical backpack. 7 rugged. That's pretty good. Okay, mission ready. No digging, no delays. Yeah, again, that's good for like a headline. It just doesn't know what I'm looking for. So I could have told it bullet points. Maybe it would know that I should be benefit first, but typically I don't see it do that. I guess I could train it to do that. 7 rugged compartments though. Rugged is better than tough here, I think. 7. Honestly, just large. Just 7 large compartments to keep your gear close at hand. All right. So I think we're good there. Large. I want it roomy while being organized and having a lot of it. So okay. With a Tactpack, you keep your back happy with our 4-inch waist straps and load lifters. Stay safe and secure with our rapid access CCW compartment. Keep organized with 7 large compartments that keep your gear close at hand. So even when you need to double your loadout, you know this bag can handle it. And to prove it to you, I loaded up with over 200 pounds of steel and sand and took it around town for all my weekend chores. See how it went in this week's video. Okay, pretty good. Now for call to actions. The way that we need to write call to actions is also benefit first. Because we're getting to the end here. You know, we're going to have a button. Watch the video. Check out my adventure, because the previous one was kind of a lame call to action. So call to action is 2 things, right? It's the line right before the button, and then it's the actual text on the button. So we're going to check out my adventure. So improve it to you. This is the reason why. This is putting it like right at the climax. Why all these things are huge. Let's see if it is as good as it promises, right? And to prove it to you, I loaded up with over 200 pounds of steel and sand and took it around town for all my weekend chores. Watch and see how the bag and my legs held up under pressure. Check out my adventure. Okay, so benefit first here. This is just curiosity, right? So when I say benefit first, it's like, what's the thing I'm supposed to be doing? What's the thing I'm supposed to be getting? It's supposed to be fun and interesting. So I don't want to do watch and see. I just see, it's too much. See how the bag and my legs held up under pressure. That's good. Good enough. I like it. Check out my adventure. Cool. All right, so now we're going to go to the comedian and see how I did. My backpack nearly got me arrested. That's pretty good. Also, as a split test, it could be like, police hate my backpack. I don't know. I think my backpack nearly got me arrested, or how my backpack nearly got me arrested is a good option. There we go. All right. Body. I've always loved backpacks, so that's good. We're at least tying it. So you should always have subject line and first line agreement. So if I said my backpack nearly got me arrested, I said, I was in Russia. One time I was on vacation in Russia. What is happening? I'm confused. I'm leaving. I'm not interested anymore. Always make sure you have agreement between those two, right? So my backpack nearly got me arrested. I've always loved backpacks. Okay, we're talking about this. Great. I love having the ability to carry all of my gear with me just in case the apocalypse comes or my wife needs to borrow some chapstick. So again, we're kind of talking about like making something bigger than it is or making something smaller than it is. I'm kind of lightening up the apocalypse thing by saying like, honestly, the way that I use it most of the time is that my wife just needs chapstick or a Band-Aid or whatever. And I have all this other gear. It is what it is. All right. So I love the ability to carry all of my gear with me just in case the apocalypse comes or my wife needs to borrow some chapsticks, but I don't always like projecting a Rambo vibe everywhere I go, which is why I have a lot of backpacks. I had the perfect sling bag for EDC. Apparently, I did not believe in punctuation last night. I'm not sure what happened. Carry all of my gear. Oh, I'm sorry, everyone. Why did I not believe in periods? Okay, which is why I have a lot of backpacks.
I have the perfect sling bag for EDC, a sleek laptop bag for the boardroom, and an awesome ultralight backpack I use in the backcountry, plus a half dozen more just because they were cool. But no matter the mission, I always look for a good admin pouch. Okay, so I have an awesome, have a sleek. Okay, so we're doing I have. Sometimes this is like, I just have to kind of experience it, right? It's long form, but it's just, there's a lot of the same here. So I'm like, does this break it up? If I add some bullets here, this always happens. This always happens. Okay. Whoa. Did I just delete a bunch of stuff? What happened? Yeah, what was that nonsense, Google? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I think that's probably a little bit better. Yeah, that's easier for scanning. So sometimes also the design perspective comes into it. Think about like eye fatigue. When you look at everything, it's just like all text and you're scrolling through and you're like, oh gosh, it's so hard to read. It's really helpful to have something that breaks it up. You do something in bold, you add in a picture, it just gives you a little bit of break, and it makes you want to read it. Think about it like a textbook. If you feel like, I don't want to read that, it's a poorly designed textbook. You need to lay it out differently so people want to keep reading. All right. So, which is why I have a lot of backpacks. I have the perfect sling bag for EDC. I have a sleek laptop bag for the boardroom. I have an awesome ultralight backpack I use in the backcountry, which now that they're bullets, they don't get periods. Plus a half dozen more just because I thought they were cool. But no matter the mission, I always look for a good admin pouch. Seriously, it should be illegal to make a bag without one. Here's why. When I was just graduating high school, so many words in there. When I graduated high school, I was in my tactical era, and I bought a $40 no-name Molly backpack from Amazon. I know, embarrassing. It's probably dots. I know, embarrassing. It was basically just a giant dump pouch with straps on it, but I used it for a couple of years before getting a real bag. And once I did, I threw the old one deep into my closet, never expecting to need it again. But one day, I needed a bag with a wider hip belt for a family vacation where we'd be walking a lot. But one day, my, not in-laws, I want to call them my in-laws because they're my in-laws now, my girlfriend's parents invited me on a vacation where we would be walking a lot, and I needed a bag with a wider hip belt. Dot, 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 leads in. And the dot there, what it's kind of doing is like, and it was the only one I had. All right, so what I like here, emoji. I want to sigh. Give me a sigh. Sure, that's the one we're going with, right? Here's another thing you can do is throw in some emojis, just like, oh, something else happened, right? I know, embarrassing. It was basically a giant dump pouch with straps on it, but I used a couple years to get a real bag. One day my girlfriend's parents invited me on vacation where I'd be walking a lot, and I needed a bag with a wider hip belt. And it was the only one I had. So I prepared for a miserable couple of weeks, pulled the crap pack out of retirement, packed to the brim, and flew to Europe for a cruise with my then girlfriend's family. Every day, I carried 20 plus pounds of gear through Sweden, then Finland, then Russia, and back to Sweden again. The bag sucked. It barely kept my stuff organized, so I was eager to get home and swap it out for my EDC bag. That transition is not happening. Right? The bags sucked. It barely kept my stuff organized. I kept losing things, and I was eager to get home and swap it out for my EDC bag. So you can imagine my surprise when the airport security guard told me she had found an illegal street weapon inside one of my least favorite backpacks. Oops. I had forgotten that I had this bag with me in San Antonio 3 years earlier when my friend's car was nearly broken into. Some thug decided to waltz into the street and eye his parents' new Camaro. Little did they know that they're both retired cops and armed to the teeth. Luckily, nothing happened, but to stay safe, I stuffed the taser into my bag's hydration bladder pouch without a second thought. And now that came back to bite me. Not only had I delayed my international, so I'm going to lead into these a couple of times with ellipses, which is going to do something similar to bullets. It just creates like a little break in it. And now that come back to bite me. Not only had I delayed my international flight, but I had seriously pissed off my girlfriend's parents who already didn't like me, ... And now I was facing jail time in a country whose language I did not know, all because this bag had no organization. Fortunately, after a half hour of interrogation, the Swedish cops let me go and destroyed my taser. I still have their notice of impound in my office. I'm thinking about getting it framed. Give me cool guy. Give me glasses. Give it to me. No. Shades? Yeah. That's it, man. Think about getting it framed. Cool. Think about getting it framed. But I still haven't found a bag that serves all of my needs. It has to look presentable in an office. It needs to have the tactical and outdoor functionality I need. And it needs to have a quick access admin pouch. That last one could be a matter of life or death. So I had no choice but to design my own bag. And after years of R&D, I'm proud to announce the Tactpack, the world's first tactical and tactful backpack designed to keep you safe and out of international prisons. Check it out in this week's video review. That's pretty good. But what I don't like, I love it, but you shouldn't take my word for it. I sent it to a couple of EDC guys for their unbiased opinions. See what they have to say. What did I say before the admin? Oh, right, I was doing a different thing, so it's not gonna be a good similar call to action, right? I sent it to a couple of guys for their unbiased opinions. All right, so what I want to do here is maybe introduce some sort of this is a good time to put in a hook, an open loop, right? One of them had to have a problem or some sort of a funny story or something that is a thing I can hook into, right? So one of them even said ... for their unbiased opinions, what's something bad they could have done or felt or whatever, right? So I sent it to a couple of EDC guys for their unbiased opinions. I could be like, can't say like 4 loved it and 1 hated it, right? Because that gives away the game. I sent it to a couple of EDC guys for their unbiased opinions. This is the comedy one? Yeah. All right, so I sent it to a couple of EDC guys for their unbiased opinions. I think I'm going to have to hire a repo guy to get some of them back. See what they have to say. See their reviews. Cool, that's fine. All right, so, and I think I'm gonna have to hire a repo guy to get some of them back. All right, so as compared to the ad man, where we're kind of building things up, and we get to the top here, it's like, all right, see how the bag and my legs held up under pressure. You know, we're kind of capitalizing on that. We're adding something there that they're like, oh man, I feel like I have to know the end of that. Will the bag be able to hold up to 200 pounds of steel and sand all day? And we get down to comedian, and it doesn't go up quite as hard. You know, it's just kind of funny, but it still has that, right? I love it, but you shouldn't take my word for it. I sent it to a couple of EEC guys for their unbiased opinions. You're kind of curious how it goes, right? And then I think I'm going to have to hire a repo guy to get some of them back. As funny as that line is, I was able to kind of tie it in. This is showing value. Why are they seeing the value? We haven't really highlighted what they liked about it. And so then we say, see their review. So I'm still trying to work it up to a CTA there, even though it's a little bit funny.
All right, let's jump back in. And I know journalist is next, but I just had an idea for the chef that I want to do. So I'm going to say the 20 things every EDC bag needs. And my CTA is going to be PS. If you need a bag that can handle it all, we just launched a new bag called the Tactpack, capitalized. If you need a bag that can handle it all, we just launched a new bag called the Tactpack that is it's like secure, safe and secure, keep you safe and looking stylish. It's like, okay, one of them's saying not to get thrown into prison, which is funny, but not what we need, right? That is designed to keep you safe and looking stylish. We gave it to a couple EDC and influencers for their unbiased opinion. Check out their reviews here. All right, so you can tell the chef is just a little bit, it's way less pushy. It's just very informational. Now, that's not my favorite thing. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight that last line, especially that check out the reviews here part, because I think we can do better than that. I think we can do something that's just a little bit more, what's even the word? Hooky, you know? Check out the reviews here is just kind of an option, right? We want something that hits a little bit harder. All right. But that was more of a reminder than anything. Because right now we need the 20 things every EDC bag needs. So I'm just going to go ahead and put together a little list. And I'll need an intro to it, but for now I don't have a list. A high quality med kit with a high quality med kit, a tourniquet. Tourniquet? Nope, is it? Okay. A tourniquet. A well with minutes for every occasion. That sounds like I'm telling people to party. Oops. Okay, high quality medikit, tourniquet, a pharmaceutical bag for every location, a knife, a blade capable of chopping, a blade capable of slicing, making a feather stick. That's my very specific use case. A blade capable of sawing. All right, so those are my blades. 2 ways to purify water. I call it making a tourniquet, a pharmaceutical bag with minutes for every occasion, a blade for chopping, a blade capable of making a feather stick, a blade capable of sawing, 2 ways to purify water, 3 ways to start a fire, something a tarp, not a trap, a tarp, or poncho, or garbage bag for improv shelters, mylar, tarp or poncho or mylar for improvised shelters. So let's see, I have water, I have fire, I have shelter, I have defense, I need food. High calorie food to get you through at least one day. What else have I carried in my EDC? All right, so I've got a multi-tool, and one of these should be a multi-tool. A change of socks and underwear, a hat for sun protection, or a quick identity change. I'm just struggling to get to 20 at this point. I mean, somewhere around 9 or 10 is where my personal one ends. A weapon for self-defense. Oh, man, I didn't even... wallet, keys, phone, and charger. Wallet, keys, phone, and charger. Yeah, I just went into all the like stereotypical EDC stuff and didn't even think about normal stuff. Wallet and cash. Key.
All right, so back into it. I added some notes to each one of these, so I know exactly where I'm going with it. So I have the ad man, the chef, and the comedian done. If you were doing this, you'd be done at this point, but I'm going to keep going. And the one thing that I want to do here is I want to, the comedian is so close to being a tour guide, but it kind of starts off with not my backstory. Well, no, it's kind of my backstory. Yeah, so you see how I've got some funny lines in there, but let me just change the tone of this, right? So I'm going to make a serious version of this. Let's say, you know, this is a tactical backpack. Maybe I don't feel comedy goes well with that. So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to make a straight version of it. subject line. My backpack nearly got me arrested. I love the ability to carry all of my gear with me. From my CCW to chapstick for my wife. But I don't always like projecting a Rambo vibe everywhere you go, which is why I have a lot of backpacks, plus half dozen more because I thought they were cool. I always need a good admin pouch. When I graduated high school, I was in my tactical era. Okay, so that's getting... I got my first backpack dash a $40 no-name Molly backpack from Amazon. It was basically a giant dump pouch with straps on it, but I used it for a couple of years before getting a real bag. Once I did, I threw the old one deep in my closet, never expecting to need it again. But one day, my girlfriend's parents invited me on a vacation where we'd be walking a lot, and I needed a bag with wider hip belt, and it was the only one I had. This is still a little cheeky, so I'm going to take that out. So I prepared for a miserable couple of weeks, pulled my old bag out of retirement, packed it to the brim, and flew to Europe for a cruise with my then girlfriend's family. Every day I carried around 20 plus pounds of gear through Sweden, Finland, Russia, and Sweden again. The bag sucked. It barely kept my stuff organized. I kept losing things. I was eager to get home and swap it. Well, I just did all of that and didn't start recording. All right, back to it. So I've already done the ad man, the comedian, and the journal, and the chef, sorry. I've already done the ad man, the comedian, and the chef. My comedian one is so close to a tour guide where I'm telling you a personal story, but there's a couple of parts that are just a little bit too quirky and humorous. Maybe I feel that doesn't go with the brand, so I go at it from a different angle, right? So I would say, my backpack nearly got me arrested. Love the ability to carry all my gear with me. From my CCW to chapstick for my wife. I felt like the apocalypse chapstick combo there was a bit too funny. But I don't always like projecting a Rambo vibe everywhere I go, which is why I have a lot of backpacks. I feel like that Rambo vibe is fine. We don't have to be super straight-laced even if we're not trying to be comedians, Tactical era is probably overdoing it. So when I graduated high school, I bought my first backpack, so I'm going to deride it a little bit, a $40 no-name Molly backpack from Amazon. I know, embarrassing. I'm going to take that out. Just get straight to the meat and potatoes. It was basically a giant dump pouch with straps on it, but I used it for a couple of years. And once I did, I threw the old one deep in my closet, never expecting to need it again. But one day, my girlfriend's parents invited me on a vacation where we'd be walking a lot, and I needed a bag with a wider hip belt, and it was the only one I had. So I prepared for a miserable couple of weeks. Crap pack is clearly kind of on the more humorous side. Pulled my old bag out of retirement, packed to the brim, and flew to Europe for a cruise with my then girlfriend's family. Every day I carried 20 plus pounds of gear through Sweden, then Finland, then Russia, and back to Sweden again. The bag sucked. I barely kept my stuff organized. I kept losing things, and I was eager to get home and swap it out for my EDC bag. So you can imagine my surprise when the airport security guard told me she'd found an illegal street weapon inside one of my least favorite backpacks. Oops. I'd forgotten that I had this bag with me in San Antonio 3 years earlier when my friend's car was nearly broken into. Some thug decided to waltz into the street and eye his parents' new Camaro. Little did they know they were both retired cops and armed to the teeth. Luckily, nothing happened, but to stay safe, I stuffed a taser into my bag's hydration bladder pouch without a second thought, and now that had come back to bite me. Not only had I delayed my international flight, but I had seriously pissed off my girlfriend's parents who already didn't like me, and now I was facing jail time in a country whose language I did not know. We're going to change that to didn't, because you should use contractions. All because this bag had no organization. Fortunately, after a half hour of interrogation, the Swedish cops let me go and destroyed my taser. I still have their notice of impound on my wall and think about getting it framed. Doot, doot, doot. But I still haven't found a bag that serves all of my needs. It has to look presentable. It needs to have a tactical and outdoor functionality I need. And I'm just going to make all caps. And it needs to have a quick access admin pouch. That last one could be a matter of life or death. So I had no choice but to design my own bag. After years of R&D, I'm proud to announce the Tactpack, the world's first tactical and tactful backpack designed to keep you safe and out of international prisons. That one's fine. It's a little funny, but it doesn't need to be overly done. I love it, but you shouldn't take my word for it. I sent it to a couple of EDC guys for their unbiased opinions. And I think I'm going to have to hire a repo guy to get some of them back. I think that one needs to go too. So same thing we had yesterday is I still want this to kind of hook them in. There has to be some sort of curiosity hook. You'll never believe what one of them wanted to carry around in it. See the reviews. Cool. So that's the tour guide, a little bit less funny version of the comedian. Let's head on up to journalists. So Vertex versus, I like their packs. I have no idea how to say that. Ebrelstock. There's a lot of competing sounds in there, and I don't know what to say. Okay, so here we're just going to. This is an email, so we're not going to dive into the deep differences between the three, but what we are going to do is hint that we're going to be doing that in a video, right? So I'm going to say the best EDC bag, ? All right. Ever? ? All right, body. I'm always hunting for the perfect EDC bag. And for years, you had to pick between one of two extremes: style and functionality. I'm always hunting for the perfect EDC bag, and for years, you had to pick between one of two extremes: style and functionality. Which is why we developed the Tactpack. Gotta capitalize Tactpack. Designed to be both tactical and tactful, but we weren't the only ones who got the message. People everywhere have been demanding a pack that, quote, does it all, including backpacking giants Vertex and Ebrelstock. Spelled that mostly correctly, but just didn't type well. As a backpack enthusiast, I'm pumped. I'm pumped. Consumers have so many great options, but as a fierce competitor, I want Tactpack to be the best. but I also want to earn it. So I subjected the 3 packs to a brutal endurance test to see which holds up best. May the best pack win. Watch the video. All right, so here you can see like my whole thing is I'm trying to ask a question, right? I'm not giving an answer. We're just going to be trying to find the answer. We're doing it together, and I'm going to do it in an honest way, right? So I've tried to do that in some other areas. I think, for example, the chef, I'm saying we gave it to a couple of EDC influencers. So we're kind of like, oh, discover, especially there at the end where you want a curiosity hook. So people go into your YouTube video and they're already interested, they're already engaged, they already want to see more. That's totally fine. You need to do that. Sometimes they're just going to mix. It is what it is. But I'm trying to show you what a dedicated email is going to look like when you lean 90% in one direction. All right, so we have the ad man, we have the journalist, we have the chef, we have the tour guide, the comedian. Now we just have to go for the pastor. And I think where we want to go here is if you have an EDC, if you have a tactical bag, anything like that, where you're like, this loadout is, it has potential medical applications, it has potential, city or urban survival or nature survival situations that you're putting anything in there for. Even if you have like one pocket knife, you feel like you're not being all that and a ferro rod, you feel like you're not being that dramatic, it takes up that much space instead of that much space. You're clearly preparing for some sort of contingency. So we're going to go kind of start with the fear angle, right? Are you safe? This morning, I just saw a video of a woman getting robbed on the street. So I'm gonna put a GIF in here. This isn't even a real thing. It's just like, hey, that's a solid way to lead into it, right? This morning I just saw a video of a woman getting robbed in the street. Here's a GIF. I don't have to tell you this, but the world is pretty dangerous right now. And if you're not thinking about your safety, about your family's safety, you're abdicating your duties is what I want to say, but that's way too long and flowery. So if you're not thinking about your family's safety, you're not doing your job right. They look to you for protection and comfort. Don't let them down. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to get them into, at a minimum, every day, you need to be carrying the following things. This is kind of getting into a chefy thing. But here, I'm saying, oh, there's no right or wrong way to do this, yada, yada, yada. You need to nail the basics. I'm talking about the frustration of not having it or carrying too much, right? Those aren't the issues we're dealing with here. We're dealing with life or death issues. We're dealing with moral issues of protecting and providing for your family. So we're going to have a totally different look and feel here, right? So this morning I saw a video of a woman getting robbed in the street. I think I need to hit this harder. I don't have to tell you this, but the world is pretty dangerous right now. Robberies and petty theft are up 47%. I'm totally making up numbers here. Armed home invasions are up 23%, and an apartment, this happened a little while ago, but an apartment in San Antonio was recently taken over by a Central American gang. All right, so we're gonna get our bullet points in there, kind of break up the thing. So not and, I'm gonna say so. If you're not thinking about your family's safety, you're not doing your job right. They look to you for protection and comfort. I'm gonna hit they look to you again. They look to you to tame the dangerous world around them. I'm trying to decide if I want to do them or you there, because they look to you to tame the dangerous world around, but you're doing it here. They look to you to tame the dangerous world around you. Yeah, I think it's you. They look to you to tame the dangerous world around you. Don't let them down. At a minimum, that flows much better. At a minimum, every day you need to be carrying the following things: a high-quality med kit, a tourniquet, a booby kit with bandages and meds for every occasional, a blade capable. I want to keep this kind of. No, I think one of the things that works well about this is my instinct is to keep it short, because this isn't the same situation where we're talking about carrying too much gear. But the point is that you need a bag that's going to be easily accessible to, like, you have a lot of stuff, but you can get to any of it quickly. It's not like at the bottom of your pack where you can't reach it, right? At a minimum, every day you need to be carrying the following things: blade capable of chopping, of making feather sick, of sawing, right? And most importantly, you need to have quick access to each one of them. When you need it most, your gear can't be buried at the bottom of your pack. When lives are on the line, you need your med kit or CCW close at hand. When the world is crazy, you need to stay prepared, but blend into the crowd, which is why we made the Tactpack, the world's first bag that is both tactical and tactful. By day, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to compare and contrast, and use the contrast to show them a higher ideal that they can identify with, that they'll want to go with, right? The pastor is all about inspiring them to new heights, to make changes, to make big and moral moves, right? So the world's first bag that is both tactical and tactful. By day, you are right at home in the boardroom. By night, you are a fully prepared sheepdog. I don't know. That's a metaphor that I haven't used yet, so I don't love that line. Right? By night, you're a fully prepared sheepdog. All right, so now we're getting into, call that, the Tactpack enables you to tackle any challenge with ease while staying organized and low profile. And this week only, we are offering a 20% discount to our loyal subscribers. That's you. Just use promo code TACT20 at checkout. David, cool. So that's pretty good. The big thing here is, of course, this awkward line here. By night, you're a fully prepared sheepdog. So you're right at home in the boardroom. This is my current line. Give me another idea for a metaphor for someone who is prepared, armed, soldier, knight, rogue, protector. I don't know. There we go. So I'm going to give it some of the ideas I've had so far. Nice vibe with the sheepdog metaphor. The sentinel. Yeah, that's a big one. The shadow. No, we're not doing that. The watchtower. No. What is this? D&D. The ironclad. No, this is too much. There's too much. ChatGPT isn't good at this. Sound like D&D characters. This is to appeal to dads who want to protect their family. Tone it down a little. I actually like a couple of those. So here's how I'm going to use those, right? You're by night, you are the everyday protector. And here's how I'm going to do that. All right, so now we're going to go into multiple examples. We're really going to build up that promise, right? You're the first responder when the first responders haven't arrived yet. Your family's first line of defense when things get hairy. Hey, wrong, hairy. You see a lot when I'm doing the passer, we do a lot of these threes and we do a lot of starting things with the first line, the same first line. Your society's last line of defense when the world goes mad. And now we have multiple challenges, different levels. And then we go right into the Tactpack empowers. The Tactpack empowers you to tackle any challenge with ease while staying organized and low profile. And this week we're offering a 20% discount to our loyal subscribers. That's you. Just use promo code TACT20 at checkout. Nice. Okay. Nice and easy. All right. So what I want to do is I reread Ad Man earlier, so now I'm on a journalist. All right, so I just want to read through it. It's not a day later, but I want to make sure I like the flow of it now that I've had a couple of minutes away, I guess. I'm always hunting for the perfect EDC bag, and for years, you had to pick between two extremes, style and functionality, which is why we developed the Tactpack, designed to be both tactical and tactful, but we weren't the only ones that got the message. People everywhere have been demanding a pack that does it all, including backpack giants, Vertex and Eberl stock. As a backpack enthusiast, I'm pumped consumers have so many great options, but as a fierce competitor, I want Tactpack to be the best. But I also want to earn it, so I subjected the 3 packs to a brutal endurance test to see which holds up best. May the best pack win. Yeah, I like that a lot. Adman, journalist, the chef. All right, here we go. The 16 things every EDC bag. Apparently, I held down the caps too long. Every EDC bag needs body. There's no right or wrong way to build your EDC. What you need each day depends on your location, your mission, and your personal skill set. But no matter who you are and what you're doing, you'll need to nail the basics. A high-quality med kit, a tourniquet, a boo-boo kit with bandages and meds for every occasion, a blade capable of chopping, a blade capable of making a feather stick, a blade capable of sawing. One of these should be a multi-tool. 2 ways to purify water, 3 ways to start a fire, a tarp, poncho, mylar for improvised shelters, high-calorie food to get you through at least one day, a change of socks and underwear, a hat for sun protection or a quick identity change, a weapon for self-defense, wallets and cash, keys, phone and charger. This list has saved me years of frustration. Gone are the days of not having it when I need it most, and gone are the days of carrying way more than I need and killing my back. Take some time tonight, check your pack, and see what you need to add or subtract. David. P.S. If you need a bag that can handle it all, we just launched a new bag called the Tactpack that is designed to keep you safe and looking stylish. We gave it to a couple of EDC influencers for their unbiased opinion. Check out the reviews here. So the big thing about the chef, just to add it again, is most of it feels not like a sales pitch at all. I'm just providing you information. But what you do is you tie it together. It's like, hey, I've got these 16 things, and that's kind of a lot. I need to make sure it's all around and accessible. And so here at the bottom, I say, if you need a bag that can handle it all, right? So the open loop there is the problem of having to carry all that stuff. And then you close the loop in the PS. It feels like a soft pitch, but because you're actually resolving that tension and that pain point, you go, oh, actually, that could be a good option. Let me watch through it. So, all right. The tour guide. That's the one I wrote today. My backpack nearly got me arrested. I've always loved backpacks. I love having the ability to carry all my gear with me, from my CCW to chapstick for my wife, but I don't always like projecting a Rambo vibe everywhere I go, which is why I have a lot of backpacks. I have the perfect sling bag for EDC. I have a sleep laptop bag for the boardroom. I have an awesome ultralight backpack I use in the backcountry, plus a half dozen more just because I thought they were cool. But no matter the mission, I always look for a good admin pouch. Seriously, it should be illegal to make a bag without one. Here's why. When I graduated high school, I bought my first backpack, a $40 no-name Molly pack from Amazon. It was basically a giant dump pouch with straps on it, but I used it for a couple of years before getting a real bag. And once I did, I threw the old one deep into my closet, never expecting to need it again. But one day, my girlfriend's parents invited me on a vacation where we'd be walking a lot, and I needed a bag with a wider hip belt, and it was the only one I had. So I prepared for a miserable couple of weeks, pulled my old bag out of retirement, packed it to the brim, and flew to Europe for a cruise with my then girlfriend's family. Every day I carried 20 plus pounds of gear through Sweden, then Finland, then Russia, and back to Sweden again. The bag sucked. It barely kept my stuff organized. It kept losing things, and I was eager to get home and swap it out for my EDC bag. So you can imagine my surprise when the airport security guard told me that she had found an illegal street weapon inside one of my least favorite backpacks. Oops. I had forgotten that I had this bag with me in San Antonio 3 years earlier when my friend's car was nearly broken into. Some thug had decided to waltz into the street, and I, his parents, knew a Camaro. Little did he know they were both retired cops and armed to the teeth. Luckily, nothing happened, but to stay safe, I stuffed a taser into my bag's hydration bladder pouch without a second thought. And now that had come back to bite me. Not only had I delayed my international flight, but I'd also seriously pissed off my girlfriend's parents, who already didn't like me. And now I was facing jail time in a country whose language I didn't know, all because this bag had no organization. Fortunately, after a half hour of interrogation, the Swedish cops let me know and destroyed my taser, but I still haven't found a bag that serves all my needs. It has to look presentable in an office. It needs to have tactile and outdoor functionality I need, and it needs to have a quick access admin pouch. That last one could be a matter of life or death. So I had no choice but to design my own bag. And after years of R&D, I'm proud to announce the Tactpack, the world's first tactical and tactful backpack designed to keep you safe and out of international prisons. I love it, but you shouldn't take my word for it. I sent it to a couple of EDC guys for their unbiased opinions. You'll never believe what one of them wanted to carry around and see the reviews. Cool. Final one, the pastor. Didn't mean to do that. The pastor. Are you safe? This morning, I just saw a video of a woman getting robbed on the street. I don't have to tell you this, but the world is pretty dangerous right now. Robberies and petty theft are up 47%. Armed home invasions are up 23%. And an apartment in San Antonio was recently taken over by a Central American gang. So if you're not thinking about your family's safety, you're not doing your job right. They look to you for protection and comfort. They look to you to tame the dangerous world around you. Don't let them down. So we need, do I have another they look to you? I'm just gonna for protection and comfort to solve the world's problems, to solve their worst problems. They look to you to tame the dangerous world around you. Don't let them down. At a minimum, every day you need to carry the following things. Just read through that, so we're going to keep moving. And most importantly, you need to have quick access to each one of them. When you need it most, your gear can't be buried at the bottom of your backpack, at the bottom of your pack. When lives are on the line, you need your med kit or CCW close at hand. When the world is crazy, you need to stay prepared but blend into the crowd, which is why we made the Tactpack, the world's first bag that is both tactical and tactful. Trying to decide just visually if I like that all in one line. Yeah, we're just gonna keep them short because we have 4 long ones there, and I think I prefer that structure. This isn't my favorite structure here in general. So maybe when I actually was designing this, I might, put that in a big red square or something, just something to break up everything and make it a little bit more scannable. But we're not on the design episode yet. That'll come in actually quite a few days. I think, well, actually, what if it's tomorrow and I'm crazy? Is that number 8? There's no way that's number 8. That would be hilarious. What a way to tie in. No, tomorrow's killing writer's block. And then design. That's actually in 2 days, so we're all good. Okay, so anyways, here we go, which is why we made the Tactpack, the world's first bag that is both tactical and tactful. By day, you are right at home in the boardroom. By night, you're the everyday protector. You're the first responder when first responders haven't arrived yet. You're your family's first line of defense when things get hairy. You are society's last line of defense when the world goes mad. The Tactpack empowers you to tackle any challenge with ease while staying organized and low profile. And this week only, we're offering a 20% discount to our loyal subscribers. That's you. Just use promo code TAC20 at checkout. Cool. I love it. So nice and easy. That's 6 different styles. You can see how they start to blend together. That's okay. I've been writing a while. I'm going to kind of blend them together and inject my own style into it. But I tried to pull back and say like, all right, well, if I had to be a tour guide and not a comedian, how would I do this? Right. So it's always good to push yourself and see, can I write in a different style? You never know when you're going to be hired by a brand that they might like your personal style, but not for them, and so you have to practice writing in other styles. And eventually, you'll find your own style. And even when you're forced into a different area, you'll find your own way of kind of still making it your own. So hopefully that was very helpful to you. You can pick 3 of those that are most interesting to you, most aligned. But I do encourage you in the future, make sure that you write in those that don't come very naturally to you. Right now, today, the goal is to find your style. So pick the 3 that best align with you. But like I said, once you start becoming a better writer, it's great to try and force yourself out of your comfort zone and develop skills in other areas. So thank you very much. And we will see you in the next one when we talk about killing writer's block and the formulas. I think it's the 9 formulas that you have to know in order to kill writer's block and not be a rambly, crazy person. Thank you so much. See you then. All right, thank you. I hope you liked all that. Hopefully you understand exactly how all that pieces together, how it works, how you need to balance those and maybe weave them together. And you can go practice. Now you can go look up people you admire, reflect on who you are, how you like to write, and then try and write in 3 that come most naturally to you. And finally, tomorrow, honestly, I'm just curious. Do you ever sit down when you've been practicing this and just freeze like you have no idea where to go? Because if so, that's the most normal thing in the world, but you're probably frustrated because you don't know what to do next. You end up staring at the screen, stuck while the cursor just sits there blinking at you, making fun of you for not knowing what to write. But no longer tomorrow, we're going to be killing writer's block.
and killing that rambly, annoying teacher inside of you to make sure that you're not getting stuck, you're not getting lost, but you're actually writing in a way that is motivating people, getting people excited about what you're talking about, and eventually closes you sales and makes you money as a copywriter. Because guess what? Writer's block is not real. You have too many things that you want to say. You're drowning in it. And these formulas are going to give you clarity so that you know what you want to say. You say it well, people resonate with it, they buy from you, and you make money as a copywriter. Thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow in Killing Writer's Blocks. Have a great evening and go practice. Seriously, do the thing.